Ralph, are you watching? Oh God, what is the Zack Snyder? Are you watching Rebel Moon Part 2? You degenerate. Because I know you.
Do you have any idea
one.
how excited I am to hate watch that piece of shit movie? I haven't even seen it yet, but I'm already confidently declaring it a piece of shit movie. Right,
wow,
my friend and I, we watched because we just watch superhero shit together or whatever, and we watched it, Rebel Moon, and honestly, worse than even the worst. Like, we'd seen bad reviews. The bad reviews did not prepare us for how bad that movie was. I'm so excited to see what he does next with this. Like, it's so rare to see this amount of money and this much effort to put into something so bad. I cannot wait.
And then him immediately go, they let me do whatever I want. And then he goes, but wait, there's going to be a director's cut. I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
There's the R version. Okay, why did you just make that the first time around, my man? He's like, I even saw a tweet today that was like, oh, we recorded separate lines of dialogue that you could really tell were just for the R version. It's like, what, you drop F-bombs? Like, wow, that's super edgy, man. You're really at the cutting edge of cinema right there. Like,
I was not a Zack Snyder hater at all. I held on to the bitter end until he started going on record about Batman and saying all these like weird things about Batman. And I was like, that's it.
Okay, listen, let's talk about that, right? Okay, so first of all, I agree with you. And in fact, my Zack Snyder opinions are so wild that I like the Watchmen movie.
I know. Okay. I was about to say, I am a Watchmen defender. I think it's really good.
Me too. Big time.
It makes everybody a little too awesome, but otherwise, I think it's pretty cool. Like,
yeah. I think everyone's like, you didn't understand the source material. I'm like, well, I've read the source material. I think it's like not that far off. Like, it's a spin, sure, but it's not that far off.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when he said this Batman stuff, everyone's like, that's it. I'm done with Zack Snyder. It's finished. It's over. And all he said is that Batman should kill people, right? This is when he was on Joe Rogan. And he's like, it should be okay for Batman to kill people sometimes, right? And then Batman people lost their shit.
Yes.
Is this true? Is this all correct?
Yes. But then he
he
said he had another interview recently and he's like, no, it's just a couple of nerds that are upset that Batman doesn't adhere to one specific comic arc. And that's wrong. It's not Batman doesn't kill isn't one arc. That's the whole character
point of Batman
thesis.
It's kind of like his whole thing.
But like, okay, but to be fair though, in his defense, if there was a rendition of Batman where he kills people,
which
that's kind of interesting.
That'd be pretty sick.
There are, and like we just saw in Suicide Squad, where like Batman goes nuts and starts killing people, and it was basically the only good part of that entire video game. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was the only good bit.
I spent the most time talking about just that part. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think Zack Snyder kind of has a point in the sense that if you did have a Batman thing where he was killing people, that's interesting and that's watchable. Like, right? You know? Like Superman becoming a Russian in Red Sun, like his whole thing is he's, truth, freedom, and the American way or whatever. All of a sudden, he's a Rusky, very readable and very watchable. So, I don't know, man. This is one time while I will defend Zack Snyder, even though he just put out one of the worst films I'd seen in a long, long time in Rebel Moon.
So the thing is that Jake, before when you were like, oh, are you going to be watching Rebel Moon Part 2? I had completely forgotten the existence of Rebel Moon Part 1.
I just broke your brain. Nobody even knows the second part is coming out. It should be out by the time this podcast is live.
Are you joking? I thought it was coming out in like May.
No,
I'm so excited. I had no idea it was that soon. Oh my God. I'm pumped.
My God.
Just a certified hater. That hater energy. That's like let it flow through you.
But let's be real though. Like, everyone is hate watching that. Like, no one is tuning in thinking, "Damn, I'm so excited to see how this exciting, saga concludes." Everyone's like, "Guys, this is going to be terrible. Let's go." Like that's
it's like the room for overexpensive sci-fi.
Yes, exactly.
Well, welcome to the Friends Per Second podcast, folks. It is episode 43. We've made it. We talk about video games. We have a lot of cool stuff lined up to talk about this week. This is Ralph, aka Skill Up. That is Lucy James. I am Jake Baldino, back from vacation. Thank you guys for replacing me with the Jake that makes good YouTube videos.
I was going to say,
stop it.
The word is not replace. The word is upgrade.
Ooh, Oh, he was sitting on that. Oh, he was. Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding, of course.
I'm just gonna leave now.
No, it was very good to have him here.
Yeah, you guys asked good questions. I like wanted to know about like how he thinks about stuff, and you guys did good. You did good without me.
Yeah, he was very easy to chat to.
Yeah,
had a great time with him, and I suspect we did miss you very much.
Thank you. Sure. I was on a beach, and it was nice. It was.
All right.
I don't know how to dress on a beach, so that was fun.
Did you just go in a full 3-piece suit?
I noticed you've obviously got your tan. I can see that you've really spent a lot of time in the sun.
This to me is I do have color. Yes, don't even joke. I know. I went from pale to ever so slightly pale. It was yeah, it was effort, but I'm not really an outside or sun person, so but it worked. It was nice. Vacation was good.
Good.
Did you take your Steam Deck or Switch with you?
I did, yes.
Okay, and did you use it?
I didn't. No.
Okay,
yeah.
That's a healthy sign.
I had it queued up, ready to go. I didn't. I read comic books and books on the beach instead. I read Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. I read what's the Green Lantern one? What's the big one?
Can't help you.
I'm blanking. I just read it, and then I finished Dune.
And, nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dune good. I don't know. Like this is a bold opinion, but Dune book good.
Or do you think it's got legs?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really on to something. That Frankie Herbert guy. He's really got
he's on his own.
Are you gonna read Messiah now?
Hell yeah. That's like why I read Dune, because like I had read some of it as a teenager, but I was like, let's knock this out and get to the like Dragon Ball Z level shit. That's what I want. So that's
what
next.
You think
it's queued up.
Okay, all right.
I heard he just turns into even more space Jesus, so I'm ready.
Yeah. Gonna be very interesting to hear your thoughts on that. But Dune also just came out digital. By the way, this is actually a video games podcast, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
I know we've spoken about movies and comic books and whatever, but we're eventually going to talk about video games, so just bear with us. But Dune 2 did... Actually, that's not quite true, because we're about to talk about video game adaptations of television. So this is basically a television and movie show right now, okay? That's fine. Maybe we'll talk about video games at the back end. But Dune 2 just came out digital. You can buy it right now on like Google Shop or whatever. And next month, the 4K Blu-ray is out. I'm very excited. So
I'm waiting for 4K Blu-ray. I'm seeing rumors that Godzilla Minus One is finally coming to streaming. But like in Japan.
Let's go. Oh, okay.
Right.
That's
excellent.
not a
they're taking their time.
VPN, baby. As long as they got subtitles, VPN, that's fine.
Yeah. Speaking of like entertainment stuff, Lucy, you've been traveling and you've been doing things too. You were at the BAFTA Game Awards.
I was. First of all,
what is BAFTA just for some people? Because I know Ralph knows, I vaguely know. Is it like the Oscars kind of?
The Oscars for the Commonwealth.
For the Brits. First of all, I did want to say that I'm coming at you from my childhood bedroom at my dad's house, which is why it's Post-it note yellow, has been co-opted by my dad and my stepmom for their overflow of books, but it's also I got a little Paddington Bear in the corner.
He's very handsome. He looks fantastic.
What's his catchphrase? Does he have a catchphrase? Like, hello, it's
hey, give me the marmalade sandwich.
Exactly. Unhealthy obsession with marmalade. Like, very unhealthy. Like, my dude, come on, now, you got to get your diet, get some other stuff into your diet. So... So BAFTA is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. It is an arts charity based obviously in the UK. It champions and celebrates people in the motion arts. So I think that's what the motion arts, or like the moving pictures. So they've got the film awards, the television awards, and for the last 20 years, I didn't realize they've been going that long, they've had the gaming awards, and it's basically... BAFTA does a lot of stuff because they're a charity, so they deliberately, they have a thing called Breakthrough Brits, where they select people who are going to be huge and help them with their careers. They also do a lot of programs like Young Game Designers and try and encourage people to get into games, film, and TV. And the awards they do every year are really cool. Like, I really love... I one of the first games events I ever went to was the Gaming BAFTAs in 2012. I got to meet Aaron Stanton from Mad Men for LA Noir. And that was pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. That's cool.
And so they have this prestige about them, obviously, and last year I presented an award with Tam, And this year I presented an award by myself, but I was also the red carpet host with Jane Douglas from Outside Xbox. And so it's I know that in the US at least, like BAFTA's not as big of a name, but like over here in the UK, it's a big deal. And so I've been
it's been nice to be a fly on the wall with it. It seems like not annoying like Hollywood stuff can tend to be.
No,
where it's like obnoxious.
Like obnoxious. No, it's just like really. Maybe it's just because most people there are British. You know, just too polite, just too laid back, dude, and uptight. No, actually, British
famous British phrase, laid back, dude.
Yeah, that's right, laid back Brits. Got nothing to complain about. I'm British.
Yeah, nothing. No, I just think it's a really well run event. I'm not just saying that because I was a part of it. I just even watching it. My family were watching it and they are not into gaming at all. And they were just like, I really appreciated, I really liked that person's award. Or I really liked the in memoriam section and the music and the whatever. And Phil Wang, who's a comedian in the UK, if you're American and you watch Taskmaster, you will know Phil Wang. He hosted it. The jokes were genuinely very good. And
that's good.
There have been some award ceremonies that I've been to in the past where they've had a comedian host or they've had the really bad jokes and they just have not landed. I can comfortably say totally. Phil Wang stuff was very good. And then it was just a lovely night. And they are always there's like a big party. You do dinner afterwards. There's a big party, and so it was a fun week. And for me, it was mad because they had like a full glam squad. So sorry if you follow me on Instagram. I've been posting so many of those pictures because they had professional photographers, professional hair and makeup. I look fantastic. I will keep posting those pictures.
Good for you. That's cool.
Very nice. If you're the red carpet host, were you doing the thing where you're like, hello, who are you wearing tonight? Were you doing that? No,
the only two people we asked about what they were wearing, one of which is John Romero, because he looked like, God, if you look at what he was wearing, he was wearing this jacket that had these spikes down, so I didn't know, like, I felt like you didn't want to kind of get too near him because he might accidentally clip you.
That's how he makes make sure he gets the armrest when he's sitting down. Yeah. It's like, I got this. You don't want to fuck with it. It's mine. He wears that on the plane as well. So.
He's in the middle seat. With both armrests. And the only other person we asked about what they were wearing, actually no, Tracy Wiles, I believe her name is, Jahira from Baldur's Gate, just because her dress was amazing. But we asked Sam Lake about it because he bought that tuxedo, he had his suit made for the 2020 BAFTAs when Control was nominated.
Oh, okay.
He had it made and then couldn't wear it. So this was the exact suit that he had made for the 2020 BAFTAs and he got to wear it for 2024 for Alan Wake.
Nice.
So,
that's cool. No, and they won stuff. Nice. They Alan Wake 2 cleaned up some stuff. It was Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake. And
Viewfinder won a couple too.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah.
So
Technical went to Zelda and I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it was very much like what you expect for award ceremonies in this year. Like, who would you expect would win what? And it's like, yeah, you kind of can guess it all the way through, and you'd probably be largely correct.
I think everybody should watch it or should tune in next year too, because every year with the game awards and stuff, there's always such discourse about like what it should be, what it shouldn't be, and there's always this back and forth and up and down. Too much this, not enough that. This gives you different perspective. This is a completely different way of doing it. So I highly recommend that.
There's no world premieres.
No world premieres, but it's also like I think they have a rule where you have to be the named person on the BAFTA to go up and get the award or something, or like they're also, in terms of, I've been to a lot of awards recently. Went to the Game Awards, I went to the DICE Awards, GDC Awards, and now BAFTA. And every single award ceremony has like a different flavor that's really, really nice. But I do think BAFTA has a really great balance. And it's just a fun, nice night. I say that about all of the award ceremonies. It's nice to see people be celebrated and see their hard work. And when you hear the cheers in the room when stuff wins and people crying on stage because this is what they worked for. Cool. Obviously they work for people to play it and love it, but those little
recognition from your peers.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because it is all peers. It's everyone. It's like 1,200 voters in the games industry. The voting process is intense. Like, I've been on those juries before, and it is not to say they get into fights, but like you really have to, like, everyone plays everything, and comes with it's really fun, kind of passionate chats, like really British there at the end. That's why I'm back, and now I'm up to see my family, and maybe I'll be northern by the next time you hear me. Probably not.
It's coming back.
Sounding like Jim Ryan, just keeping that accent alive after he's gone.
Yeah. And who's the guy who's like, there's the rock star, the ex-rock star guy who's the head of Lightspeed LA. Did I tell you this? No. So when they announced that game at the Game Awards, I forget what the title was actually, but he was on stage.
The sci-fi one, the cyberpunk one.
Yeah.
He has a very strange northeast LA accent. And like my friend Gav Murphy messaged me and he was like, where is this man from? So I was like, sending a clip to my parents and be like, is this guy north of the river? Is he south of the river? Is he South Shields? I don't think he's Sunderland. And anyway, I don't think so. If anyone knows where that guy from Lightspeed is, if you yourself work at Lightspeed, can you ask him?
If he's watching, he could be watching the show right now. Please leave a comment below. Where the fuck are you from? What's up with your weird accent?
Lore. It sounds like so cool.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like the Northeast is like a weird small kind of place, and so I will probably have like 5 degrees of separation with this man.
Like your accent, it sounds like you live under the bridge, or do you live over the bridge? Like all this stuff. It's cool.
It's like the Anyway, so that's my little UK adventure.
I think we might as well just jump right into talking entertainment, right?
On this gaming podcast.
Yet, so this is a good time to start.
Yeah. I mean, Fallout is the big thing right now. The TV show, the Amazon produced show, kind of led by Jonathan Nolan and some other creative people.
Is that Lisa Joy?
Is that Christopher's brother? Is he or not? Is he? He's okay, right?
He did Westworld.
He did Westworld. No wonder this is good then.
Yeah, him and his wife Lisa Joy. I don't think Jonathan Nolan is the showrunner on this one, but he's like executive.
He's a big lead, and I know he directed some of the episodes.
He directed the episodes.
Sure.
Yeah, as a big Westworld season 1 and 2 fan, I was very stoked when I saw that they were attached to this.
Season 1, perfect. Season 2, you're like, it's getting a bit wobbly here. Season 3, I was like, wow, okay, we're still going, aren't we?
Season 2 is wobbly, but Kiksuya is one of the best episodes of the whole season, of the whole show.
Can't remember the exact
nice to see them carry from Westworld to Fallout the trend of the coolest cowboy I've ever seen in my fucking life.
True that.
I really like the show.
So I haven't seen it yet, but I forgot that Michael Emerson, Ben Linus from Lost, is in it, which is such a cool get. I love that guy. He plays freaks like no other. Like little weird guys.
I don't know who he is.
Oh, I think he's the target that I've only watched episode 1, but looking at his face, he's the target that they're tracing who's escaped from the Enclave.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's like the picture that I saw.
Yeah, he does always play freaky, creepy guys.
I love him so much.
So does Walton Goggins. So it's just like a collection of freaks they got here. So it's fantastic.
I cannot reiterate how much I like the Ghoul cowboy mercenary. I think it is the coolest idea. I think it cribs a lot of great stuff from the Fallout world and some of the Western aspects, like especially like with New Vegas and stuff, and just the concept of a ghoul, of course. But then, without spoiling anything, this like we're not gonna have spoilers or anything, but he is key to the story. He has such a through line through the story, despite being like a wandering undead mercenary man. He has so much involvement in it, and I just really like that. I think the show was smart in terms of focusing it around the 3 leads with a Vault Dweller, a Brotherhood of Steel guy, and just kind of like a wastelander in this ghoul. It just really, really worked and kind of helped show all aspects of the world. And I'm not the first person to like have this take, but the way it kind of let you see all of it, knowing that players went into the games and did different things. Not everybody's experience was the same. People sided more with one faction over the other. So this was a good way of kind of cramming that all in together. And it just like, you realize it makes so much sense that they made a TV show. They didn't try and make like a movie or anything like that, which I'm still thinking about like Borderlands. And I'm like, they're just doing a movie? That's crazy. And then you have this beautiful television show for Fallout. We'll talk about the adaptations in a minute, but I just think that it felt like such a strong, like everybody was just like on their shit, like from the writing, from like people clearly played the games. They wanted to tell their own story, but specifically within the world of the games. And it worked, man. I know you guys are early on in it, but am I like, am I off base?
Yeah, you're still. I mean, I have not seen it yet. With all the travel and everything, I don't want to watch it on my mobile phone as I sit on a train. But
it's just as Nolan would have intended, though.
Just
you can still use that line.
Just watch it without headphones, too. Just watch it full blast. Subway style.
That's right. Watch it on your DS.
I do actually have a DS with me, randomly.
So the
thing is that my history with Fallout is not necessarily... I would not really call myself a big fan of it. I tried playing New Vegas. I tried playing 4. I played the most of 4. God help me. Probably not the best idea. I don't think I tried 76. I don't think I even tried 3. There's like a friction with playing Fallout. Like, even though the world is so interesting to me, I love that kind of zany humor, and I'm kind of envious that. Yeah, I think my biggest interaction with Fallout is through H-Bomber Guy's videos. I watched the New Vegas, and so
there are worse entry points.
But I think, that means the Fallout show wasn't necessarily on my radar. Also, as time has gone on, I did genuinely like Rings of Power, but over time, I don't think about it. I just don't think about it, and I think ultimately it was a very safe and restricted show because you are working within the confines of the Tolkien estate, and they are not very flexible, whereas I feel someone like Bethesda would be way more amenable to making changes and making things that are cool and just letting people talented people like Jonah Nolan and Lisa Joy and the team of writers and whoever, have fun. So I'm really stoked to hear you say that about the show because that's way more interesting to me. I will say my one big complaint with Fallout, main character's called Lucy, isn't she?
Yeah.
She is.
My Slack has been unusable for the last 2 weeks because every time she's referenced in something, I get a ping.
Yep. It's interesting you say that because it definitely feels like so what you're saying with Rings of Power, it's like Amazon as like what they produce.
Like it looks beautiful.
There's definitely like they have hits and misses, and this Fallout to me feels more like early Amazon when they were like trying like those early seasons of Man in the High Castle when you're like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy,
Sure.
Also surprisingly good visual effects, a lot of set building, dude. They go to that like first outpost town and I'm like, that's a fucking set right there. That's a movie set, an old fashioned movie set. They have even the vaults and like all this stuff. Just products, all the like cram and like Nuka-Cola, not like in your face like referencey, but like just world and tactile objects and props.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel because I've only watched the first episode and it's all set in the vault. But it's just such a beautiful recreation of what a vault would look and feel like. There were certain sets, just like they had a shot of a hallway, an empty hallway at one point. And it's just got all these like steel girders and rivets and the colored paint. And it just looks so perfect, or when they're showing like the power armor on the rack, when the first time they see that and you're like, damn, yeah, that's exactly the rack, man. You got the angle right and everything. Like just so many things where you could just tell how much love they had poured into what they were trying to create. And I think that is so core to this because it's clear that the people who made this really respected the source material. But you can't just respect source material. You also need to have like imagination and know what to do with it. And I think Rings of Power is like I think Rings of Power is a perfect example of that because I do suspect the people that made that show had a lot of reverence for the source material, but I also believe they had absolutely no imagination whatsoever to use it in an interesting way or to kind of go beyond it or what have you. And so I don't think it was safe. Like maybe it was all about the Tolkien estate, like locking it down. You can and can't do this. I just think it was made by people who weren't particularly good at their jobs and like it just was badly written and it was just bad. It was just bad. You know what I mean? So
that's the thing. Like, we don't know. We weren't there, but it's not. It's not something I'm thinking about. I'm a big like I showed you guys literally mere minutes ago. I'm in my childhood bedroom. Here's my illustrated Tolkien encyclopedia that I have.
Yeah.
She's flexing. She's holding it up to the screen if you're listening.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Look, he's Minas Morgul.
There it is. Beautiful.
You know, and like Lord of the Rings is something that I think about all the time. You know, I'll just be, you know,
yeah.
Could have better things going on in my life, but Rings of Power is not it, man.
No, but it's sort of like, and I think at the other end, so at the other end of the spectrum of like, if you have a lot of imagination but don't respect the source material, you get Halo. And at that point, it's like they just clearly did not give a fuck about anything that made Halo. And they're like, no, we have a sci-fi show and we have a vision for what this universe could be, and we're going to do that even though it's radically different from everything else. Like, this is where we want to go with this. And it just sucks. It's just a terrible show. I haven't watched season 2. I do hear season 2 starts much better, and then I hear it kind of like belly flops at the back end again.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. No idea.
I got about halfway through, and then I was like, okay. I can't.
Yeah, was the first half better though? Like, was it look like it was picking up speed?
I'd say like the first 2 episodes. The first episode, I was like, oh, they fixed everything. This is so cool. And then it like, and then it's like, let's go back to the room and talk. And it's like, oh man, talking. No, it's not about that. But like, it's just, it's where it gets bogged down. But you're right. It is so interesting how there's this like tightrope walk of doing your own thing, not, you know, having care, having reverence, but not getting caught up in it, and like who's involved with it. That's why my video title was a little dramatic. It was like the Fallout show is a miracle. That's a little like over the top, but like it's a YouTube, miracle, man. In terms of like people behind the scenes nailing the feel and getting that right. Because I know Jonathan Nolan was involved in everything, but I was like, I don't know about this, guys. And it works. And I think it works because of character stuff. I think it's interesting stories with characters. So I'm not spoiling anything, but the plot, the MacGuffin type stuff that it revolves around, I ultimately didn't end up caring too much about. But the characters on the journey and how they interacted and intersected and how they all kind of acted as vessels to learn about different aspects and factions of the world, just that worked. That's what kept me going.
Because one of the things I'm really interested in, especially when you start watching something for the first time, is the trust that the writers have in the audience to kind of pick up on things. And like there's some things you can watch where the writing is so bad, and it is Exposition Boulevard, which is my favorite place in Los Angeles, where they basically just vomit. Oh, and here's the history of this, and here's this character. Hey, sis. My biggest bugbear is anytime in a TV show or movie, someone says to their sibling, hey, sis, or hey, bro. Because I'm sorry, I have a sister.
I've never said that.
People don't talk like that.
I have I have multiple brothers, and all we ever call each other is bro, though. So that part holds out.
That's fair. Bro, maybe, but like, hey, sis, a brother calling the sister sis. That's the one that really gets me. Anyway, so, and like, I think one of the things, and again, coming back to Westworld, where it's like the way that Westworld doled out its story and how the park was set up and how you get there and whatever, it was done really cleverly. And I'm really interested to see how they've done that with Fallout, because they could just have the war changes everything, like little cut scene where they just dole it out, but yeah, if you're dealing with multiple factions in multiple places, then how do they do it, Jake? How do they do it?
They do it well. I don't know. It's especially in terms of they do it, and then also they flip flop with the tone and how it can be grim and gory and creepy, and then like funny and satirical. And it's interesting how I don't know. I like Fallout 4 was a little. What's the word? Cleaned up, whitewashed. I don't know. It wasn't as grimy as the previous games.
Yeah.
The show manages to like, you know, have a lot of gore, but also have a lot of like weird science, which I like. I was very like, oh, okay, wow. It's not just a Fallout 4 show. There's definitely it's heavily influenced, but I think I personally found that there was more to it. And that was like a nice surprise. I guess I kind of went in being like, is this just going to be like, just new Bethesda, the show? And it's not quite. I know some fans, some hardcore fans who've been playing since like Fallout 1 might have a little bit more tonal conflict, but I thought it worked. I also just am not, I should put my cards out there. I have played the main Fallouts. I like them. I was never obsessed with them, but I enjoyed all of them. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think similar to that point, that point about like being serious and being funny. Like I think Lucy, the character, like she's so well constructed because she has this kind of comedic quality she can switch to in a moment, while also she knows how to like actually emotionally process actual real shit that's going on. Like she has this kind of chipper, well, at least in the first episode, she's got this chipper buoyancy, which is like okie dokie, but at the same time, like she will kill you if she needs to, and she understands that is like not a joke, and you know what I mean? So that character stuff feels very real. Her performance is great. Walton Goggins' performance always is flawless. I don't know the Brotherhood of Steel actor's name, but he's crushing it already. It's just like the whole cast I just think is just spot on. So for me personally, though, what I found really interesting about it was that it really made me feel Fallout like never before, because it made me realize that, because I, played 3, 4, 76, whatever. It like those games, they're really goofy. Like it's trying to be serious, and it is, like, for sure, absolutely, like it's serious content. There are serious moments, serious things happen, but ultimately it's such a goofy video game full of like NPCs that do things, and you can shoot anyone in the head that you like, and it's kind of funny when you do it, and it's goofy, right? This, though, I actually was for the first time imagining what it would be like to be in a vault and have to live that life. And I imagine what it would be like to have some raiders come in and like fuck up your shit, and like you're then thrust into this wasteland, and what it would feel like to actually, have to step out of that world for the first time. You're like, we've stepped through vaults ourselves, out of vaults so many times now, but I've never really felt what it would be like to do that until I watched this TV show. And for me, that makes it quite an interesting like companion piece to something like The Last of Us, where the show didn't really make me feel anything that the game didn't make me feel, except for like Billstown, the episode where they just like completely wrote a whole new script and they just add a whole new chapter, right? But The Last of Us already did its job to get me to feel things and like tell an amazing story in an amazing way, and the TV show just kind of told it again, but in a slightly different way. It didn't feel as essential. Whereas this, I'm like, wow, okay, you've really opened up a whole new level of connection to the Fallout franchise that I never thought was possible before. Like, I really care about this world a lot more now because of this TV show. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that's a really... I didn't expect that to have that response to it, for sure.
It's definitely not perfect. It's not a perfect show, but I think it did a really good job with what it set out to do. And it does seem like it's popping off, a lot of good response, Definitely. A lot of good feedback. I mean, I watched it with my wife, who never played the games and was able to like very quickly get into this world. So it does seem like it's getting some mainstream appeal. So I kind of wanted to ask you guys, between this, the Arcane thing, the Cyberpunk show, Sonic the Hedgehog, The Last of Us getting like awards and prestige, like at this point the floodgates are open, right? Like, is it? It's not just like, oh man, all the adaptations are bad. Like, I think things are starting to change. Do you guys see this kind of being a thing more?
Oh yeah, I mean, what also part of it, right, is that like the directors and writers who are at that stage in their careers where they are being handed the budgets for multi-million-dollar productions probably grew up with gaming, right? In way more of an intense way than maybe people who are making things like Alone in the Dark were, or other... I mean, I actually really like the first Resident Evil movie, so I did not want to say Paul W.S. Anderson. Later Resident Evil movies, who could say?
I didn't know anyone else watched the Alone in the Dark movie.
I was really stretching. I
forgot about this.
It was really like, shit, what's another video game adaptation movie that was bad? Anyway, so you kind of have like these people who've grown up and kind of understand the games have, and like to your point, Ralph, about just telling a story in this cool world that already exists and already has its own history and lore, and making something stand out is super cool. And so the floodgates are definitely open, and I know that, you know, Amazon's got what? God of War. I feel like that might probably fall under the same issue that The Last of Us TV show
I think
did.
So. Because like, how are you going to make me feel...
You're going to tell that story again, aren't you?
You can make me feel different things than like the God of War game did. Like if you wanted to tell a different story or tell it slightly differently. But already you made me feel a lot of things in those two games. I don't know that I'm going to have that much of a deeper connection to it if you do it again. There's every risk that you just kind of piss me off a little bit, because I'm like, well, this isn't as good. You know what I mean? So that's a really tough one to land.
And then are they going to start from old Kratos? Like,
I don't think you can do old Kratos as a TV show these days. Like, unless it was like, I don't know. Yeah, just
super gory and bloody and like is it Rome and Spartacus and like those old shows where it was
those shows? Yeah. Sure. I mean, you could. It's just. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if they could pull it off.
Are they going to do old Kratos, like old age Kratos? That's
sorry. You mean like God of War 1 to 3 kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like if it was like they did like a 300, like this is being directed by Zack Snyder, does God of War 1 through 3, the adaptation. And you know what? I actually feel like he could handle that project.
I'd watch the hell out of
it. But I would wait for the Snyder cut though.
It's the DLC. Like definitely. Floodgates are open, like things are happening. And I think it makes a lot of sense in the sense that say again?
Borderlands.
Borderlands, that's right. The floodgates are well and truly open again in Borderlands, maybe. But it makes sense because obviously like the superhero thing is winding down.
It's played out.
Like it is. It's already kind of down.
Hey, Robert Downey Jr.'s coming back. That's all we need.
He is talking about it, man, and there's no way that Marvel's not going to take him up on that offer. Yeah. So like it's definitely going to happen. So yeah, like it's winding down. And studios, they want safe IP.
Yeah.
And what's safer than massive video games? Like for real, at this point, what is safer than a massive video game that's already sold 20 million units, has massive brand recognition, it's an easy layup. So it makes sense that anything with an audience is going to get an adaptation. You know, like I even saw Dredge this week is getting an adaptation, the indie game Dredge. And that's cool. I like that a lot. Cool. But I mean, I suspect that's being done not because of brand association, but because the person really liked Dredge and could see a concept in there that's worth it. But they're doing a Toe Jam and Earl adaptation. You know what I mean? Like, there's a Tomb Raider animated show. There's, Halo, not Halo, sorry. What were we talking about a second ago? I forget.
Mass Effect allegedly got optioned by Amazon a couple of years ago. That would be cool. Obviously this is 100% probably happened. Rockstar must have been approached for Red Dead and GTA. Like, yeah, I don't think they would. Do with that, they would some film exec is like, hey, yo, my kid. I don't know why he's from New York. Hey, yo, my kid's playing this cowboy game. It's pretty good. And then,
but that's a perfect example because there's no way you could make a film that is better written than Red Dead 2. No. It is impossible. It cannot be done.
Time.
So
the time
don't
even
make
that character, those
absolutely.
Plots.
Didn't someone take like the OG Red Dead cutscenes and put them together? I think Rockstar might have done it. Like they put it together and like it made a little film and put it out on YouTube.
Everybody does. Yeah.
That's just like a YouTube supercut thing. Yeah. It's like,
but I feel like I think it's an official Rockstar thing. I want to say.
Right. Yeah, but I really hope. I mean, look, I obviously big established games that that popped off are going to get adaptations, and that's cool. I'm less interested in a God of War adaptation because it's already just done its job for me. The video game medium has already accomplished much of what a television show or a movie could already do. I'm much more interested in things where there's an idea or a concept that could be more fleshed out by an adaptation because there's just something there that you can build upon. Like, I don't know, like Hades. Is Hades getting Hades is getting its show, isn't it?
Oh, is it getting a Netflix one?
I think it's getting like a Netflix thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I heard something about that. Anyway, regardless, but that's a good example, right? Because you've got this game that's got these incredible like characters in this way, but you only get little tastes of them throughout the journey because that's just the nature of the game.
So it makes sense to blow that out.
if you bring that out, you've got a cool concept there, and I'm really interested to see what you could do with that. But
that's what I want. I don't want to see it become like you said, safe IP and mining for things that exist and are proven. I want smart choices that make sense. Like Fallout makes sense because it's just there's so much post-apocalyptic stuff out there in media, but nothing quite like Fallout. It's just strange. So I like those smart, deliberate choices. I don't want it to get to the point where, like, you know, the execs are like, okay, what do we own? What do we got? Shuffle through here. Like how they are with Marvel. And it's like, Thunderbolts, the Eternals. Let's try that. I don't want to see the video game version of that. That's going to hurt.
Blue Beetle. Let's make a Blue Beetle thing for some reason.
Show some respect to Blue Beetle. Listen, okay?
What about...
You're one of the 4 people that watched that movie, I guess. Okay, nice.
Good.
I'm sorry.
It was good.
I mean, like, The Sims is getting a movie from Margot Robbie. I think that is genuinely cool
That could be
shit.
a good idea.
There is so much weird Sims lore in those games already. Like, I mean, Bella Goth aside, there's... And the mystery of whatever happened to her,
That's a
right?
name I haven't heard in 1,000 years.
Bella Goth. But, like, I'm really just because, The Sims like Barbie, to use that as an example because of Margot Robbie, but it's like there's so much history there and so much, like, as there is in the Fallout show, I will be able to look at a screen from the Sims movie and be like, oh, I remember that was the kitchen counter I had in the Sims 2, or like I remember that exact interaction that you would do with the baby Sim or whatever. And so and then it gives you this playbox, this sandbox to make. Oh, because there's a Minecraft movie. Jack Black's in it.
With Jack Black or whatever.
You know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's funny, we forgot to talk about the Mario movie, which I liked.
Yoo-hoo!
But the more you think about it, that was more of the angle where they played it really safe and didn't really have too much to tell or do with it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. I was really happy with that movie as just a fun little intro to the characters, and like it's obviously very squarely aimed at kids with a few gags for adults or whatever. But I like that. But I mean, I don't know how much risk you want to take with Mario. That's the other thing. I did see a lot of that commentary where it's like they didn't take enough risks with this. It's like it's Mario, bro. Like what do you want? Like do you
out, you know.
Exactly right. I literally bought the 4K Blu-ray for that old Mario. Do you have this? Do you have this yet? I've got the 4K Blu-ray.
I thought about buying it because I like it. I watched it as a kid. I was like, this is crazy, you know.
This makes no sense. Why has this been made in this way? I mean, for me personally, thinking about Fallout, you know, separate from the show, what I think about now is just like, what a shame it is that there's just no Fallout coming anytime soon in terms of a game. You know, it's such a shame. And we've been saying this forever as well. Like when I say we, I mean like the collective people who play video games. It's kind of like Bethesda Game Studios own this IP. It's their game for sure. But they are going to be working on Elder Scrolls for like the next 5 to 6 years. And then after that, they need to enter, you know, pre-production phase for, you know, the next game that they want to work on, which they say is probably going to be Fallout. But we're going to be waiting like a decade at best for the next Fallout game. And I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Like that's genuinely ridiculous. Just give this IP to another studio, let them make something with it. And it would be cool. Like it's such a waste to see it sit with this one studio for so long. You know what I mean? Like,
like I don't need something to just. I don't need it to have endless sequels, but I could use a little more. And I think they're definitely even thinking that themselves, where they have this show, it's popping off now, and at the very least, they have the new PS5 and, you know, Series X and I guess patched PC updated version of Fallout 4. But that's really it, with nothing on the horizon. So it's like, okay, hope people go back to Fallout 76, which is finally good. But, you know, that's only for a certain type of player.
Yes.
I mean, it kind of makes me sad to think about, you know, Telltale. Back in the heyday, could have filled that gap. Like you had the Tales from the Borderlands, but like imagine if they had a Tales from Fallout. I mean, not to say that another studio couldn't do it, but you know, it would be really cool to have like even like a narrative experience, or I don't know. Fallout Shelter's still going, right?
It's still going. That's obviously. But I'm not really talking about spin-offs. I'm talking about like a proper.
Oh, you're talking about an actual
game.
Fallout?
I'm talking about like just get someone else to make Fallout.
Everyone talks about Obsidian.
It's probably not going to happen with Obsidian. In Exile would have been my pick personally, but now they're working on Clockwork Revolution. I think In Exile would have made an absolutely banging Fallout 5 game.
Oh yeah,
which is probably why Bethesda didn't want them to do it. So, but like, I mean, for real, I think. I also am just genuinely interested to see other studios pick up this franchise because, like, I mean, we had Fallout 4, and then we had Fallout 76. Now we have to wait another 10 years for our next Fallout game from, I don't know, like, just let's give it to someone else. And Microsoft, there's a big opportunity here. People love this franchise. It still remains unique to this day. You know, other than Wasteland from In Exile, ironically enough, which is probably the closest thing I can think of to it in terms of, like, style and setting and tone or whatever else. It still remains unique, and there's a huge demand for that type of game. And if you can get the right studio on it and they do a good job of it, it's huge, you know? And then you get your Elder Scrolls and a Fallout game in a similar time frame. Everyone is very happy. Like, I
love when things take a long ass time and then something comes out and it's good. And I love a team, just it's their thing, it's what they do. But I mean, with Fallout, the opportunity's already open. Bethesda isn't the first people to work on Fallout.
Absolutely.
The original studio, but then of course Obsidian. So it's like it's already been done. So I think it's an easier conversation than something like an Elder Scrolls.
I mean, I know this week it got delayed until they figure out what's going on with the update for Fallout 4, but there is going to be Fallout London.
Very excited for that, actually.
The fans are holding it down.
There is something, and I think it's actually really cool that it's like a fan-led thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. I agree. And I mean, I always really admire what fans can do with that stuff. Often it's incredible, you know what I mean? But at the same time, they're also working within existing constraints, you know, like existing technology, and the fact that it's a fan, like an enthusiast-led project rather than a dedicated team of hundreds of people working full-time for multiple years who can obviously accomplish so much more, generally speaking, because of the resources that are afforded to them. So yeah, I definitely really appreciate that modding community, but at the same time, would also love a proper Fallout 5. That would be pretty cool. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe the show will open more doors. We'll just have to wait and see.
But cool show, though. Definitely recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime. You probably have Amazon Prime already because you get it with your Amazon subscription or whatever.
Jeffrey Bezos
you guys
put it
have
in all of our houses.
You guys have ads, right? Over there, when you watch it, you get ads during it unless you pay for some extra bullshit. We don't have that in Australia yet. We still have the ad-free thing for the base price.
Well,
God, that would piss me off so
in the
much.
Beginning of Fallout, so I guess I'm doing something. I don't know.
I wonder if they've taken those out for the big ticket items. Maybe just to get bums on seats.
Okay. Yeah, God, that would piss me off so much if I was watching something like on a streaming service that I paid for monthly, and then I also got ads in the middle of it. Like,
that's how I'm enjoying Shogun right now because I refuse to give the House of Mouse any more money.
I am deep into Shogun as well, actually, so it's very good shit.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's very good shit. But I feel like we should talk about video games now as opposed to talking about more TV.
Whatever.
Probably should, yes. But before we do that, a word from our sponsor.
Jake, I struggle with many parts of my life, including feeding myself properly and, making sure I get good, nutritious meals. It takes a long time to do this stuff. Have you got a solution for me, Jake? What do you got?
Yes, I do. The sponsor of this podcast is Factor. Factor kills it specifically because they deliver fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. So if you guys are looking for like a lunch option, this is it. It's 2 minutes in the microwave. You're good to go. But like I said, it is fresh, real prepared food. So it actually tastes good, and they have a ton of options.
Jake, what are some of your favorite options then?
Do tell. Boy. Well, I know right now they do offer a lot of Italian and some pastas. But so right now I have creamy Parmesan chicken and stuffed spinach ricotta shells. So
wow,
that's gonna hit. It's good
so
stuff.
They have gabagool.
Excuse
Big
me?
ZT?
Have any ZT? Jake
do.
is from Jake is from the broader Jersey area, so that's why I thought I'd ask just how much what they got going on.
Speaking of Gabagool, they do cover like all the options: keto, vegan, like whatever your diet is, they've got you covered.
Speaking of Gabagool, they have keto and vegan.
Yeah,
do you know what Gabagool is?
I don't think he's really Italian.
Speaking of Gabagool, here's the opposite of those things.
I'm talking options, variety, you know?
That's true. That's fair. Oh, man. So, and have you had this as well, Lucy? Because, have you had it?
It got sent, but I'm here, so Michael Hyam enjoyed it on my behalf.
Jake, personally, much like yourself, I travel a lot. I find myself in other places. What happens with my like scheduled deliveries and what have you, where it rocks up at my door and I'm not there?
It's all customizable, so you can essentially select when you get meals, how many you get, and it's pretty easy to manage. It's like simple clicks. You can add stuff, you can add different proteins, you can adjust things, and they're always adding stuff all the time to their menus and doing different types of promotions. So it's worth checking it out again if you haven't already.
So I'm sold. Lucy, do you have any information on how I might sign up to such a fantastic service?
Well, boy, do I, Ralph. If you head over to factormeals.com/FPS50, use code FPS50, you get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. So FPS50 is your code, gets 50% off the first box and then 20% off the next box while your subscription is active. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring this episode.
All right, coming back here with some user questions to stoke the conversation. You guys know that you can always send us questions at contact@friendspersecond.com.
Did you read that? Did you read that?
I did read it. I read it on the screen because I can't remember the damn email. I don't even remember my own email.
It's been 2.5 years now, by the way.
I just saw you like looking at the camera, looking at like, where I know we are, and I just saw your eyes go over to the side.
Well, we got a question from Paul. Who says, "Hi friends, longtime listener, first time caller. I appreciate the in-depth analysis you provide on the industry, including specific games, both young and old. That is an enormous amount of information and would be seemingly impossible for most mortals to keep track of without a system in place to facilitate. Do you just keep a giant Excel spreadsheet tracking games, publishers, review scores, or do you use something like a CRM tool to keep track of all the games and their evolving information? I imagine this would be something you'd need on the go at interviews, conferences, etc. So curious how you manage it." I want to go with, I mean, you're both competing for some of the most organized people I know. So I don't know.
I feel like this person is giving us way too much credit, though.
Yeah, no, I picked this question because I'm generally interested in you because of the way you do the news show and everything.
Yeah.
I really hate to be the bearer of bad news here and just say a lot of it is in my head.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird how, okay, I will say this, but what's weird about my brain is that like my friends or family can tell me something like really important that really matters. Like, hey, like, I don't know, this person is graduating from high school on this date. Don't miss it. It's a big deal. And I'm like, all right, sure, I'll be there. And like 30 seconds later, I'll remember that. But then for whatever random reason, I'll remember the Metacritic score of some fucking video game that came out 3 years ago, or I'll remember some release date of some upcoming game, a little indie title that got referenced to me once. For some reason,
lore.
my brain just files video game data and then just flushes the rest. Like that is exactly what it is, you know? But I mean, just in terms of staying on top of what's going on in the industry, yeah, definitely try and be fairly meticulous with it. You know, like I have. Yeah, before, so basically now I have Edmund to help put the news show together and he manages the run sheet. But before then, like I would be reading Reddit and like Twitter and other news platforms like every day, marking up news. Anything that I think was interesting would go into like this OneNote document that would be built over the space of a week and kind of like sequence to see like where the links are between these stories. I check 3 different websites to see what release dates are, because you can't rely on any one single website for an accurate release schedule, because they all have big gaps in them. They all miss things. So you need to like overlay 3 of them to get an accurate picture of what's coming out. Plus I check Steam as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just constantly just staying on top of all of this stuff. But yeah, for me personally, it's never ever felt like work. Like I do this naturally. It's just whenever I have a spare second, I'm like, what's on the subreddits and what's going on Twitter, and I don't know. I'm just weirdly wired to do that all the time. And so keeping track of it then is much less difficult, because it's constantly in my head. So yeah, that's it really. No, definitely nothing more sophisticated than random Excel spreadsheets and OneNote tables and shit. You know, like that's it, man. CRM? No.
Don't know.
nothing like that. It's all Excel spreadsheets. So
I mean, that's the thing. I have a unique perspective, I guess, here, because like my day job is this too. So I have a bunch of meetings with people. You know, Mondays at Gamespot and Giant Bomb, we have the big planning meetings. Between a bunch of us, it's mostly Chris Pereira on the news team. We have like Asana projects where we know our content plan, but we also have an Asana project where we have, here's when Summer Game Fest is going to be roughly, or here is when this game is going to come out. Here's an anniversary.
So Asana is a platform for
project management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kind of like Trello kind of thing,
okay.
But you just have like a project, you put dates in. I know that for a while, I don't know if they still maintain it. I don't know if I'm still subscribed to it, but like the Game Awards had a Google calendar that you could subscribe to that would have events on throughout the year, and it would just pop in your Google calendar, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I just spend all day, every day at work looking at things and like working to deadlines and planning for events and stuff. At home, same deal with Ralph. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Reddit. And then in terms of like evolving information, like tracking publishers and tracking like where people go, just keep it. I actually got LinkedIn for Business, because there's a scheme you can apply for through LinkedIn, and you're like, if you are a journalist, and I'm not a journalist, I'm a video producer, that is my job.
Sure.
But if you say to them, hey, I need this for my job, there is a scheme where they can give you a year of free LinkedIn for Business, and you can finally stalk people without them knowing. So
good.
I got that.
I can't handle LinkedIn, right? Because every time I go on there, it just feels so... it like makes my skin crawl to like read these people and the things they write about. Corporate thing, like it's so like these little think pieces that they have about anyone that spent any time on LinkedIn knows what I'm talking about. It's like LARPing as like a business thought leader. Every post that it's so annoying. I can't handle it. So I really can't handle being on LinkedIn for any more than a few minutes, because I know it. I think the word cringe is kind of cringe at this point, but I die of cringe every time I load into LinkedIn. I just I do this as I read some of the posts.
I'm going to boot it up. I'm not going to say anything, but like someone I work with got promoted. That's good.
There we go.
Yeah, nothing
it's
like
bad.
Sometimes
it's bad,
really
man.
Bad. It's like
it's bad.
I'm not on. I mean, I have one. I haven't updated it in so long, and that's kind of a good example of my realm of this. I live my life a quarter mile at a time, and it's just the Apple Notes app on Mac, and then the Google Keep notes that I use, and then I will sometimes dick around with Evernote. And for me, it sounds silly, but it's like any job, any industry you're in. You know, if you're a sports commentator, or you just really love it, you love the Yankees, or you love your football team, you just know everything. It doesn't really take too much effort for you to just go in, and because you're like living it all day. So that, and then also I am the fastest Googler in the West. I can get any answer so quickly. I know exactly how to tell Google to ask Google the exact right thing.
Do you use like colons and quotation marks and everything to really?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
No. All you do is you type your query in and then you type the word Reddit.
yeah, that's it.
That is how you use Google in 2024, right?
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah, that's my extent of it.
The one thing I used to do.
I am not good.
No, the one thing I used to do. So Paul brought up E3. On the go interviews and conferences. So every E3, I would be hosting the Gamespot live stage. So I would have 15 interviews in one day, typically back to back. So what I would do is I would make a thing called the E3 Sheet of Dreams. I have many of these. I still keep them. And I basically would just go through my schedule, put in what I knew I had. And a lot of the times I didn't actually know until the day before, especially if you had someone like Nintendo. You would just be unannounced Nintendo Game 1. I'd be like, oh. Anyway, so I would go in and I would know that maybe I would have, let's say, Cyberpunk. And I would go in and I'd be like, okay, who's the person I'm talking to? What is their job? Where have they been? I would look through all the trailers. What have they done so far? Like, basically just background knowledge. And then I would put in, source things from the news team before every interview. But like, I remember having Sekiro one year, and we had like Kitao-san, and I'll be like, okay, I'm talking to Kitao-san. Please give me questions that you want the answers to, because I can riff and I can ask anything. But like, if you want to get news beats from it, so I'd have this big sheet, but I couldn't take it on stage with me. So in between every interview, I would just like quickly, okay, and then just try to remember as much of it as possible. But then you have to be careful, because I think sometimes you can go too far and rely just on questions, and you're not vibing it out and listening to what they're saying. So that's my mix by the end of E3 RIP.
Rip E3, man.
Yep. Look at us, real professionals. Thanks for your question.
Yeah.
Hey, now with that, let's jump on over to a great interview we have with Abubakar Salim, who is an actor. You may have seen him in Raised by Wolves or House of the Dragon, but he's also the voice of Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins, and
pretty cool.
He's in game development. He is the creative lead behind Tales of Kenzera Zhao, an upcoming game. So we had a good chat with him. Let's roll that now. Let's just jump into it. Abu, thank you very much for being here. Definitely want to dive into this entire journey, because I feel like you got into game development in a more unconventional way for very interesting reasons. But I think the first thing it might be easy to just hash out is, where did it start? What was the first game you fell in love with?
Oh, wow. I'd say the first game I actually fell in love with probably has to be Sonic the Hedgehog on the Mega Drive. Like, I'd say, like, because I remember when I was asked, like, what's the earliest game that you played? And it was Golden Axe. I didn't really fall in love with it. It was a good game, but I'd say, like, or the one of memory, but I'd say the one that I fell in love with was Sonic, man. I love Sonic, man. There's something about Sonic which is just, it's just really cool, and fighting, Dr. Robotnik, and it was great. I would say my love for games started there. My dad introduced me to games. He was the type of parent where, he bought me the Mega Drive, or the Sega, and rather than necessarily listening to people who would say like games are bad for you, he was actually like, oh no, this is something that really, it means something to my son. So, and he enjoys it. I'm just going to support that, which till this day I'm forever thankful for. But yeah, I'd say that. But I'd say like really truly the real love, or the sense of pure like enjoyment and fascination of games as a medium was Kingdom Hearts. That's where it came alive. And I'd say there's something about Kingdom Hearts as, I don't know, it hit me at a time, I think I was young, and the emotional journey that I went through with the character and the connection that I had really made me realize just the power of the game medium as a whole. So that, I would say, was, where the true love for video games began. I'd say. Like,
we got a Kingdom Hearts person. We're in. That's it. That's all we needed.
Yeah.
So you go from gamer to, as an adult, you are an actor. a working actor. How did you get into that?
So again, acting really, I always say, like, I got into acting through games in the sense that I fell in love with the storytelling of what games could do. And I really wanted to play these characters. I wanted to be these characters. Did drama at school and sort of lent into that. And then what ended up happening is, I learned about drama schools and learned that you could actually have a career in acting. And I was like, okay, because I didn't actually know what I wanted to do when I was younger. I was one of those kids where I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go, what I want to do. And I remember when it came to the realization that I could essentially go to drama school or learn how to be an actor, get an agent and all this sort of stuff. I remember saying, like, if I don't get in the first time round, I'm just going to go join the army, because I genuinely had no sense of direction. My mum and dad really wanted me to kind of, they were like very much looking into the idea of me either being like a lawyer or a doctor or something, like a good job.
Classic.
And but I, none of that really like inspired me. But there was something about acting which I really enjoyed, this idea of jumping into different perspectives and playing through them. And so I was, kind of gave myself this weird ultimatum of like, just going to go for drama school and see what happened. And I was very fortunate to have actually been, been accepted. Funnily enough, I went to the same school as Ben Starr, and right now we're like in this space where
now it all makes sense. Okay.
It all kind of happens.
Yeah.
Both secret game lovers, but never actually spoke about video games until after the fact that we were on this job on Jamestown, but that's another story.
Wow.
But yeah, it was really kind of got into acting that way. And that's when I started, falling in love with film and really enjoying the medium and enjoying theater. But again, I was always playing games throughout, from then on. And
that's where I think you can start to see a timeline. It starts to get interesting because you are the voice of Bayek, and then you go on to found a game studio. Yeah. So what was the deal with Bayek? Like, how did jumping into that change things for you? Like your mindset, your work mindset, anything? It just made me realize that you could have a career in games, which is silly when I say it, because like, I think like at the time I didn't realize that I didn't really think that there were people behind these things. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I always imagined that you'd put a disc in like, the PS2 and, Magic Gremlins made the images appear on your screen. Like I had no idea it was people behind, the creation of games. And so what Bayek essentially did, or Assassin's Creed Origins did, it put faces to the development of a franchise that I adored, right? The Assassin's Creed franchise. Like I can still remember the first time of playing Assassin's Creed 1 and the feeling that it brought to me when you realize essentially it isn't just, set in the past. It's like also in, the modern day. And I think, it was kind of crazy to then talk to all these developers who were all passionate about games. They spoke, as artists. They they saw the game medium as an art. And I think that really inspired me to it was the seed. It was definitely the seed of realizing like, oh, you can actually have a career in this. And I do say this, as well. I think if I knew that I could have a career in games before I was an actor, I probably would have jumped straight into games. 100%. Wow. Yeah, it's surreal, cool. Isn't it? It's crazy. It I kind of, it's really made me reflect back on it and just made me, because I've always had this mentality of like, if you want to do something, you got to do it, right? And for me, it was like, okay, I want to be an actor, so I've got to just do it. And I know for a fact that if I knew you could actually have a career in making games, making these things that I enjoyed and loved so much, man, I would have gone in on it. And I would have probably had, the 13 years experience that I, would have taken from what I've got from my acting stuff, Yeah. So when you did jump into actual development and make a studio, was there an inkling for a game first and then a studio, or did you start a studio and get people together and then come up with an idea? So I started a
it's a production studio or like a production house, right? It was just Surgeon Studios, and the idea really behind it was to create, I'm very much I'm the type of person where I just start something and see if it works and hope then praise that it works, and having no idea how to do something. So I was like I'm going to start a studio, and the studio is going to represent this idea of telling stories that respect the medium in which it's going to be told in, and it's going to be a great place to work with friends. I want to involve my friends that are going to come in and tell stories with me, and we're going to either make films or make plays or even make video games. Again, no idea how to do most of that stuff, but I knew this was the way that I wanted to go. I had an idea of what it took and entailed to make a film, for example, or even doing a play, but not a video game. But then I didn't really know what that first project was going to be for us. Because again, I was, I'd thought maybe it could be, like a lot of the projects that I had done previously or like kind of worked on, it wasn't necessarily for me. It was giving my friends the opportunity to have their voice heard. So all the short films that we've done and the features as well that we've done were all to kind of be like, hey guys, I want to help you make this with the studio, with the Surgeon Studios as a house, but from something internally that we wanted to drive from us. I had no idea what that project was. I didn't know where it would come from. And it was only until, I was still sort of dealing with my father having passed away after having graduated, and still kind of having this conversation with myself and him to a degree of like wanting him to see what I've kind of created and built and, where I've got to now. It was only until like this moment when I was in South Africa, I was filming Raised by Wolves, and I had, I was playing Ori and the Blind Forest at the time on the Switch, and it was the waterfall sequence. And this sequence was a pain in the ass, man. And it was really hard. And when I completed it, that feeling, I hadn't felt that feeling for such a long time. And even though I've been playing games for a long time, right? You kind of go through them and go past them, and you kind of like, yeah, that was a good experience or whatever. But that feeling of completing something was close to was almost like it reminded me of the time that I felt when completing a level of Sonic that me and my father really struggled with. Even now thinking back at it, it was almost like this mechanically sort of casino-y level. And that's when it clicked that I had to make a game, that I had to be the first piece of work that we would do internally and make was going to be a game. And yeah, it's very surreal how it, if it wasn't for Assassin's Creed Origins, I wouldn't have realized that was a thing. And if it wasn't for me, again, working on on a TV show, on a massive TV show at the time, and in South Africa, but playing The Blind Forest, I wouldn't have come to the idea of making Tales of Kenzera Zao.
So in terms of it being a Metroidvania style game, where did that come from? Did you sit down and say, we want to make a Metroidvania? Did that fit the story the best? What was the approach?
So the approach started with, first it started with the experience that I wanted to share and the story that I wanted to tell. Mm-hmm. So, it was, for me, it started with, okay, I want to make a game about grief. I want to make an experience that kind of explores the journey of grief and what that means. My personal story or my personal journey was very much, it felt like, I felt very, I was looking at that. I was like, okay, I felt very isolated. I felt very confused, very lost. I wasn't prepared, even though I knew it was coming. It was everything. It was a mess. It was chaotic, but very isolating and very lonely. And so that's the experience that I want to kind of share, because I know that other people probably go through the same thing of, within grief, because even though we're all going to, experience it, be it either through a pet or a family member or a friend or even a job, right? You're going to experience some form of loss, and it's a journey, man. And so I wanted to depict that journey in the best way possible, and it just made sense to put it in the genre of a Metroidvania, because a Metroidvania is exactly like that. You're thrown into a world you have no idea about. You have to get comfortable with it. It's got all the tools in order to kind of deal with it there for you, in the same way that, you know, when you're grieving, you experience anger, happiness, relief, like or even confusion. Those tools are there to help you go through the journey, and the longer you spend time in it, the more comfortable you get in it. And that's exactly what a Metroidvania is. It's got all these little secret crooks and elements that reveal themselves over time. The longer you spend time in it, it feels scary at first, but then you begin to almost get used to it. And that's where the genre kind of made sense to play in. It couldn't be anything else. It couldn't be an open world RPG or anything like that. It had the genre had to resemble or reflect the experience that I wanted to share.
That is a really good answer. I thought you were just going to say like, oh no, Metroidvanias are fun, man. I don't know.
They are fun, but there is a sense of like, again, as I say, like, you know, I really wanted to create a space and create, you know, with every story that I tell, I want there to be reason behind everything, you know, even if it is just to make something really fun and cool, like dive into that a bit more, you know, because I think you can get so much from these genres and from these spaces, you know, and the feelings of what these games can bring, you know, like I look back at the story of like Kingdom Hearts, for example, and it's, you know, Sora's just trying to find his friends, and it's the fact that he will literally go from planet to find his friends. That's a lot, awesome. Man. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like trying to find them in the city or like trying to find them in a town. It's like, I am literally going to traverse the universe in order to find where my friends are to bring them back home. And that to me is powerful. And that's what I really wanted to do with, you know, with Tales of Kenzera Zao.
How about actual gameplay concepts tying into grief and loss? Because the Metroidvania makes sense because you almost gain power, and then you're able to take that new power within you and revisit areas with a new perspective.
Exactly.
Are there other examples of that?
Yeah, I would say essentially, like, I mean, again, the thing is, it's like we're a small team, right? So the decisions we had to make were really important. Because again, a team of 30 can't pivot, for example, on an idea, which it's going to be very costly and it's going to drain time. So when we decided to approach elements of design and elements of making these things, we really wanted to reflect that element of like, okay, how do we depict grief here in the most honest and truthful way and lace that within the design? So, for example, mask switching. The mask switching really comes from the inspiration of the amount of masks that we wear in day-to-day life, and how essentially, especially when you're going through a traumatic experience, you can't necessarily wear your trauma at work. You have to wear a professional face. In the same way that even at home, you have to wear a personal face. Really, truly, you can only take the mask off that you have really in your own space and comfort, right? And so for me, what was really important was not only to reflect in the Bantu culture of the idea of the sun and the moon reflecting, you know, life and death, but also the fact that having this mask that you can switch on the fly is exactly how fast we switch our masks when we're talking to people. So if my mum was to call me right now, my tone of voice in my mask would be very different because it's my mother than I am talking to you. And I think like that was something that I really wanted to reflect with this idea that we wear these different masks in order to face the obstacles that we are presented with. And, you know, even like things like, for example, the health pickups or like elements to kind of increase your health. You know, you always got to have something that increases your max health, the survivability, like, you know, to survive the treacherous, you know, sort of enemies that you're going to be facing. For me, it's too simple or too easy to just give it to a player to just find and pick up. We had to kind of look into this idea of a reflection, this idea of sitting under a baobab tree, where in, again, Bantu culture, or, you know, it's seen as a way of connecting with the spirits of the ancestors, or just essentially, you know, reflecting upon oneself. And for me, what I found is as soon as I started talking about my grief, started talking about my journey openly, I almost could feel the years I was adding onto my life instead of harboring this, you know, this guilt.
Yeah.
And so every moment that Zao actually opens up and talks to the god of death, Kalunga, and essentially, or sometimes he doesn't even say anything at all, he's increasing his rate of survival, essentially. And that's, you know, so those are elements that we really wanted to tie in and link. Again, all about that journey of grief that you go through.
So with grief being such a journey, I know you were at one point with it when you started the game. How did you process things during creating the game? What have you taken away from the game in terms of grief? Like, how are you better for it?
It's funny, man. It's just made. It's a weird one because I feel like it's not like as if, once this game is out, I'm going to be healed.
Yeah. That's not realistic.
It's not the way it is. But I think what it has done is it's made me really, again, okay, put it this way. I started this process in this game with this question in mind of like, what would I sacrifice or what would I give to bring my dad back? Right. And I didn't have the answer. I really didn't. I was like, what would I do? I would, would I sacrifice all my work just to spend that one day with him again? And it was a tough one. And I guess the one thing that has really kind of come out of it all is like, I look at, the journey that I've gone on in regards to the work that I've done as an actor, the family that I now have, even my daughter. And I just realized like this stuff wouldn't have happened if he hadn't had passed, because that's just the path in which we've kind of walked on in life. And I think this game has really sort of helped me see that a bit clearer in regards to like it's not necessarily accepting it, because there is an element of accepting that, his past. I think I accepted that a while back. I think it's the acceptance of like my feelings are valid essentially, or my thoughts are valid, which wouldn't have happened, I think, in regards to like, if it wasn't for this game, in regards to really realizing that actually it's okay to not be okay. That's totally cool and that's fine. And actually being vulnerable, there's a superpower in that. There's a sense of like actually me being open and honest to you and bearing all for you. You then can't hurt me because I've got nothing to hide, because I know the truth and you know the truth. And that's that's what I've learned from this whole thing. It's almost like it's made me realize, and even the team as well, it's made us all realize like actually if you're just honest and true from the get-go, no matter what anyone says or what anyone thinks, and no matter how you're feeling, as long as it's honest and coming from a truthful place, kind of immortal, man.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Now, in terms of the actual making the game,
brutal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like how difficult, a small team, but also the fact that it is new IP. It's a new studio, new IP. Yeah. How do you, but also everybody you work with, like balance those pressures? Like how was that process?
Oh my God, man. Game dev ain't easy, bro.
So I've heard.
Oh my God, it's chaos. I think the one thing that, on a practical level, I've learned a lot of lessons. And I think actually, funnily enough, my ignorance to it all helped. Because if I wasn't so ignorant to the realities of what it means to make a game, I think I probably would have been like, you know what, maybe I should just give this idea to someone, and be like, don't go through the stress of what it means to make this. But, the beauty of this whole process and actually getting to a point now where we are, shipping a game, it's a full game, it's what it is. Again, what I've realized is, the only way we could have got here, and the only way we would have gotten here is if, is by being honest and truthful and just being driven by this sense of wanting to tell an authentic story. I think if we were, trying to make a quick buck or catch that sort of the what's the word? The sort of the zeitgeist in a way, I think the project would have been dead in the water. I think truly like it was driven by passion, pure passion and pure wanting to make something that it allowed us to weather the storms of the games industry as a whole and the kind of unpredictable nature of it. Hiring is an issue. Like it's finding the talent, constantly, wondering if they're going, if people are going to jump ship because again, there's a better offer out there, and quite rightly so. If you're going to get a better offer to put better food on your table, like you have to go for it to a degree. So you're wrestling with that. You're also wrestling with, at the time, I mean, we were a remote studio, so we were always going to be remote, but you're the communication factor was always a thing of like, right, we're going to have to wrestle with this, you know, making sure that EA are happy with the deliverables that we're giving. Like there was all these factors that, you know, we had to go through. But again, you just had to trust that it was all going to come to fruition. The best way I can describe this process has been like, you know, have you ever been to like a water park where there's like the whirlpool slide, and like everyone from outside is like, you've got one person here and one person there, and you're all kind of going around this whirlpool
swirling
slide.
Around, yeah.
You're just swirling around, and at the end you all go through the same.
Yeah.
That's essentially what game dev is. It's
Wow.
like the producers here, honestly, the producers here telling you, you can't do that because it's, you know, it's not the right thing. And you're there like, but it's my vision. And it's like, you're shouting over this whirlpool until finally you all come to the middle and you're like, this is the thing that we want to give.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that specifically, like the creative aspect, the leadership aspect, the business aspect. Have you taken things from, you know, stage screen that you've learned? I mean, House of the Dragon, the people behind that show, or like a Ridley Scott show. Have you learned things from that you were able to apply here?
100, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, so one of the big ones is so as an actor, you know, really the job, it's not simple, but there's a simple technique that you can just practice and do that will make sure that you're doing your job right, which is just listening. It's like you listen to the other person, you receive the dialogue, and then you react. That's all it is. You got to just listen and react. And that was something that I really took on board being a leader. You know, I knew that I wasn't going to have all the answers. Yeah, I had a vision, I had an idea, and I had a feeling of what I wanted to kind of conjure. But ultimately, I'm not going to know the best way of depicting that through level design. I have to trust my designers to do that. I'm not going to necessarily know the right art style to kind of depict it. I have an idea and an inspiration of what I want it to feel, but my artists are going to know better in regards to how to really visually convey that. So listening was a big thing. And what I've realized, especially when you're working with people like Ridley Scott, or even, you know, even within House of the Dragon, the best people are the greatest listeners. You know, Ridley has a team around him who he essentially says, I want to convey this. The team give him ideas, and he's like, cool, actually, that's a greater idea. I'm going to go with that. And you begin conjuring this thing. You realize essentially like a company is a company of people. It isn't just one person. You know, me being creative director, really that title essentially is all about me being like, okay, this is my vision, this is the idea, and this is kind of me saying yes or no to something, right? Because it kind of works with the vision or not. And ultimately, you know, I'm not going to choose my idea, which might be worse than someone else's idea, which is much stronger, as long as it depicts the element of the feeling of, you know, as I say, this journey of grief, and it kind of holds to that North Star of what I believe is true. That's sort of how you build into it. The other thing as well that I kind of had taken from these huge productions and shows is the truth aspect of things, and the kind of the simplicity of when it comes to storytelling, and good storytelling at that, you need to just tell a good human story. You know, if I was to remove the dragons from House of the Dragon, it's still going to be a very good show, because it isn't about the dragons. It's about the relationships and the communication between people. The same thing with Game of Thrones. It started getting epic and all the wars and all these kind of houses were fighting, but it's really about the people. And I think like that's essentially really at the core of what makes it really good. Even like Raised by Wolves, like I think people really resonated and connected with it, not because it was incredibly crazy sci-fi. I mean, that was also part of the factor of it all, but also because it's about two androids trying to be parents. And like a lot of people can resonate with this idea of trying to be responsible for kids and having no idea about it, you know? And so that to me was, you know, what also was really key in regards to building the stories that we want to tell. It's like, what is the human truth in this? And how do we respect it as much as possible? Like it's all well and good that the game is set in, you know, Bantu myth and legends. But ultimately, you know, you could put this in Norse, and you could put this in Greek myth, or you could put this in the modern day age. What the most important factor here is it's about this kid who's learning what it means to be in a world without his father. That's the core thing. That's the core aspect. So everything else is almost a bonus, you know?
Well, without spoiling my thoughts on the whole game yet, I will say that is something that slaps you in the face immediately. We talked about this a little bit before, but people who played the demo, like as soon as dialogue starts kicking off, you're like, oh yeah, this is a human journey. This is a personal journey. This is a real thing. So I'd say mission accomplished so far.
Thank God.
But with that being said, the game is out, depending on when this podcast goes up, in a couple of days. So that's when things get really exciting. Yeah. Are you guys, looking at additional content? Are you geared up for a sequel or the next game or a new genre? Like how are you feeling right now?
It's this is the thing, you just don't know. I mean, like, again, I'm very much of the mentality of like, I have 101 stories that I want to tell. Like, I really, like, I love the idea of world building and telling stories. That's just, I'm happiest doing that stuff, I grew up, reading Discworld and sort of in the Star Wars worlds and, all those universes and stuff. So to have the opportunity of creating and conjuring my own is really exciting. So yeah, man, like I've got all sorts of plans with the Tales of Kenzera sort of universe that I want to see to fruition. Again, ultimately, all coming from the place of where it feels human and it feels real, but it also feels cool, right? But again, you just have no idea, And I remember starting this studio and telling the team, like, look, if we've only got one chance of making a game, like let's go big with it and let's really just throw everything we can at it, because you just never know. You really never know. I had it was a big lesson I learned actually when I was while I was acting at drama school by a teacher who told me, and I'll always carry this with me, like, whenever you do something or give something of yourself as an artist or whatever you give out there's always going to be someone who's going to witness it or experience it for the first time, and always someone who's going to be out there who's going to witness it and experience it for the last time. Those are the two people you want to reach out to, right? You want to, hit that first person who's come into this thing wanting to be convinced or wanting to know, like, what is theater or what is a film? And you want to almost be like, hey, this is cool. Go and see other cool stuff out there and get them hooked on it. But you also want to take into consideration that person whom this might be the last time they see something like this, due to either be a tragedy or anything that might befall them, and it's so important to give your all in something with that mentality in mind, because then everyone in the middle also gets something really, really cool, But so for us, it was really like, okay, I am gonna come to EA with this huge universe, this Tales of Kenzera kind of idea of where I want it to be, but it's really truly at its core, it's about this human journey. Because otherwise, if I turned around and was like, maybe we just want to make like a cool version of ping pong, I wouldn't be doing myself a service.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught up on the ins and outs of the lore. You want to pitch exactly the actual core human, the part of the heart, man.
Yeah, follow the heart. And look, and obviously, elements will change. Like, that's part of game dev. The beauty of game dev is that it will evolve and change over time. But as long as you've got that core there, man, like, again, as I say, you're flying.
Well, what's your, just as a pitch to players, people who haven't checked it out yet or are curious, we've talked a lot about story elements. What is, without spoiling anything, what's your favorite gameplay aspect?
Oh, man.
I know it's probably hard to narrow it down to one thing, but
I really, there's a few, okay, there's the one, so because I'm replaying it again now for like, funnily enough, for like the
billionth time.
Yeah. But the one thing that is always fun for me are the combat trials. I love the combat trials. I love them. And like the combat trials are like the music and the oh man, it's just so epic and so good. And the more abilities you unlock and the more things you can do, like, the skill tree being, there's an ability there called Seize, which essentially allows you to grab enemies and throw them, or grab projectiles and throw them back. It's like, it's so fun. And these are elements of that I really like. It was important, again, not to just focus on the story and tell that, a passion. Otherwise I should have just made a film, right? The thing is, it's like, this is a game and you have to respect that medium. So it has to feel kinetic fun and like, you know, and that's essentially what we wanted to do. And so, yeah, like as much as, you know, as I kind of harp on about the story and how, you know, kind of honest it is and meaningful it is, the real thing to take away is like, it's not that the journey of grief just influenced the story, it influenced everything. Like even the combat aspect and the fluidity and the feeling of the chaos, the franticness is, you know, for me, the best, you know, the way it resembles kind of grief in the sense that, you know, one of the things that kind of stood out for me was after my father had died, the world just continued to spin. You know, days were still going. The world didn't stop. Time didn't stop. Things just kept moving and you had to keep moving with it. It's like a train that just keeps, you're like, oh, he's passed, boom, you have to keep going now. You have to sort the paperwork. You have to, you know, talk to your friends here, do your work. Like life can just goes on. And that's essentially, you know, something that I wanted to capture with the combat, with the traversal, this feeling of constant movement, this feeling of, it almost, there's almost this agency of a sense that you can stop and you can play slowly, but you can also play fast. The options are there. The agency is there. What is your beat? Like what beat are you going to find in order to kind of go through this journey yourself? So yeah, man, like that's what I would say. It's that feeling of everything is influenced for it. That's what I quite enjoy doing. And I quite enjoy finding in the game is, you know, especially when I look at the combat trials, those are a test of like, how are you going to get over this obstacle? Because there are 101 different ways you can do this right now. You know, you can cheese an enemy from the corner and just use the blue, you know, the sun mask or the moon mask and kind of shoot them from afar. Or you can get up and personal with them with the sun mask and get there. Or you could use them both. Or, you know, or you could dash all the time. Or you could just play this risk reward. Like that's what I enjoy about it.
Well, I think with that, just thank you for working on something that, you know, wears its heart on its sleeve, tells a story, but also thank you for sharing this in terms of like other people looking to get into game development and how you just jumped in head first. You know, I think it's important to hear that, all of this. So with that, I would say thank you for being here, and I would love to chat at some point afterwards about the game. I think that would be an interesting conversation because we can't talk spoilers or anything like that. But there's a lot we could dive into.
No, definitely. And as I, you know, one of the things as well that I just do want, so like as I always say this with people to take away, like I'm an actor who had no idea how to make games, no idea, like literally nothing, and I'm here now, and it's like, so it's just take that as some form of inspiration to be like, if you really want to do something, you can do it, man.
That's a good note to end on. Abu, thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right, time to talk about one of our favorite sponsors, AG1. I mean, they've been supporting this podcast for a while now. We really appreciate their support, and we really appreciate their product. We all use it personally since they reached out to us a while ago. I hadn't drunk it before then, but started drinking it regularly after that. And as I've said multiple times, it's really nice to start your day knowing that you're doing something good. AG1 is full of really nutritious supplements that basically are good for your gut, good for your overall health. It's, you know, a very quick and easy drink that tastes nice. Slam it down and you know that at the start of your day you've actually done something good for your body. It's just a really nice part of my routine at this point that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I think when it comes to taking supplements, for me, I'll go to my local pharmacy and just be presented with a big wall of things.
Yes.
And sometimes there'll be gummies and sometimes they'll be special for women and sometimes they'll be like, oh, am I not taking this one? What am I doing wrong? It is really great just to have that moment in the morning. I just drink my AG1 and I know that I've done something good for myself to set myself up for the day, and I am taking in all the supplements. I'm doing it.
And it covers a lot of bases, B vitamins for energy, vitamin C and zinc for immune health. So like there's really a lot in this.
Plus, it's all rigorously tested. They have very high standards with regards to how they're testing their product and what they put in it versus what they don't. So you can know that when you drink it, that it's only the good stuff. And it comes very highly recommended as well. Like if you go and check out some reviews, go and, speak to people who have tried it themselves, they're going to say good things. It's got a great reputation in the market. yeah, it's a really great product. So if you want to get it, we've got a special deal going here at Frames Per Second. You can try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/friends. That's drinkag1.com/friends. Check it out, and thank you to AG1 for sponsoring the video. I am very disappointed to have missed that interview. The reason I was not there, by the way, is because of time zones. Because Lucy is in the UK, Jake is in New York.
Abu is in the UK. It's not.
Abu's in the UK as well, and I'm in Sydney, and so therefore the only time where we could have actually all done this would have been 3 a.m. Sydney time. And as excited as I am would have been to chat to Abu, I also need to be asleep at 3 a.m. It's very important. So I'm bummed that I missed it, and yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I think it was good because we didn't record it yet in this.
We're recording it
it's
tomorrow.
Definitely going to be good. He seems like a cool dude. So.
You said at the beginning, you were like, we have this really great interview. And it was like, we haven't done it yet.
I lied. I didn't know.
It's so funny. It was like an awkward
business.
I interviewed him last week, and he was a great interview. So I have no doubt he'll be great.
Speaking of interviews, did you guys watch Hot Ones? Did you watch the Conan
Yes.
Hot Ones?
Oh my god.
Incredible.
Yes.
It was so
All
good.
of my Twitter bookmarks right now are just Conan bits because people have just been tweeting out great Conan moments. I love him so much.
See, the thing is, I've never really liked him that much. I've always seen little bits, and I'm like, I get his. I think I see his shtick. I get it, but it's not really my vibe. But now having seen that, and then seeing the collection and seeing everything, I'm like, maybe I was totally wrong about Conan, and this man's actually a genius. And I've now missed one of the best comedy careers of all time because I just slept on how talented he was. Like, I really am feeling that at this point after seeing all of the clips, all of the love, everyone gushing, and obviously Hot Ones, which was just like so incredible. So
no, I mean, well, that's the thing now. Sure. Now you can go back and you have a smorgasbord of Conan to go back to. I mean, like the man wrote Marge versus the Monorail. Like
that
he's
obviously
written
for sure
one of the best pieces of American media of all time. I have so many like his when he goes to Universal. And like does that tour with all the stuff with Jordan Schlansky. His podcast, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, is genuinely so good. Like, especially when he gets a guest that he just really vibes with. Who's the woman who does Nicole Byer? That you should listen to that episode because I just have such incredible energy together. I love Conan.
Also, his recent making the rounds and like doing talk shows and stuff has worked for promoting his show because I'm looking forward to watching this like travel show because he is genuinely funny.
Me too. I would never have watched that before, but now I'm like, you know what? I'm tuning in for that. I think that's gonna be fun. So much respect to the man. Even when it was all going down with Leno back in the day, even back then, and I wasn't a huge Conan fan, but even I was like, you know what? Fuck Jay Leno, man. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I had no horse in that race whatsoever, but even I thought Leno was a dick, So, well.
I would like to see Hot Ones do gaming. Hot Ones gamer.
There was one. Wasn't there? There was Hot Pepper Gaming.
Hot Pepper Gaming was a thing. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the guy from Hot Ones to do a gamer?
I want to see Sean interview. He did Ed Boon, which was cool. Yeah. I want to see him do like Skill Up or something.
I want to see him do. In
2019, you said Anthem was trash. Do you look back at live service games and ever think you maybe should reevaluate? He is such like
I want to see him do Kojima, man. Come on now.
Oh my god.
What is the wish? What is the tier list for Hot One game video game industry people?
Todd. I'd love to see Todd.
Oh, Todd, I reckon. Yeah, that'd be good because he's like people who are very controlled, right? Like they've got like Jeff Keighley, for example, has this like persona presence thing, and then the Hot Ones format naturally breaks that down because they're like so panicked by the spice. That, I think, is where you'd get good stuff. You know what I mean? So I would love to see Jeff Keighley. Yeah. Someone a lot of like control and presence and whatever. But then because their defenses are weakened by the spice. And so that's who you want, So I reckon Jeff Keighley would be good.
Phil Spencer, I feel like he'd be fine. Like, there's nothing.
He's already.
He's already.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, I would love. I think like Tim Schafer, but doing it with Jack Black would be really good.
Oh man,
Tim Schafer, Hot Ones.
There you go.
Hell yes,
that's it.
Absolutely. Joseph Fares. Okay, I know it's exactly the opposite of what I just said about being controlled, but I still think amplifying his madness with ridiculously hot chili, I think would work.
That'd be really good.
So
and then get some like deep cuts. Get like Amy Hennig on there.
Totally. John Carmack,
Romero,
Gabe, actually, Gabe Newell on Hot Ones. That would be
that would
really
also
sick.
Kill it.
Sam Hauser.
Totally.
We're giving them really good ideas.
Yeah,
we're giving
this
these
is a
out
huge
free.
spin-off thing that would absolutely crush. So, Sean, if you're listening, and you steal this idea, we will come for you. We will.
Yeah.
Sue you.
So I was at a YouTube thing a while back, many years ago, and like Sean and like the Hot Ones people were there handing out like on platters, like here, take like the hot wings, and they were the nuggets.
That seems like a very destructive thing to do. It. By the way, did they get like approval to do this from YouTube? Because surely, like that would be a big, very disruptive thing to inflict upon an entire party.
Did you sign a waiver?
Like, this is the Hot One. Are you sure? And I was like,
sure.
I mean, you guys, like the Hot Ones people are like, yes. Slammed one immediately, and it was the hottest one, and immediately became a mess because I had no escalation. I went from like a gin and tonic to that. So I started. I got the hiccups, like the heat spice hiccup, where I'm like, and it's like I'm dripping out of my nose and I'm hiccuping, but it's like the hiccup that hurts. And like I did it in front of a bunch of people because I was like, I have to eat the Hot Ones wing from the Hot Ones guys. So I did it. But like I'm trying to talk to people and I'm just melting in real time. And it was horrible. So like no joke. That was not fun.
I wonder what it's actually like to eat something that spicy. I've never experienced that. Like I've been to India and I've had some very spicy food that absolutely put me on my ass. And I was like, damn,
this is just like chemical brutality, though. This is not even the nuance of spice. It's just killer.
Did you guys get the Armored Core hot sauce? It's not really spicy. It's
Armored Core hot sauce.
Dude, okay, like I don't really go for like promo stuff a lot of the time. I explicitly emailed Bandai Namco and I said, "Can you please send me some more of this because it's so good."
That's awesome. They're like, what?
It's really tasty. It's like
wait a second. Hang
really
on.
nice.
Why is there Armored Core hot sauce? Okay, fine,
I don't know.
Okay, it's not the craziest, weirdest, most non-secular.
Flames of Rubicon. Flames.
Right. Okay. It's like coral. It's like the coral flavored chili or something.
Fires of Rubicon out of your butthole.
Well, the thing that I don't get is that like for Dark Souls 3 in the UK they did a hot wing challenge, but for Dark Souls 3 and I was like, because you're the Ashen one, like I don't really.
Because it's all about the flame
the
and the fire and I guess so.
Relinking the fire and whatever. And I was like, okay, I get it. Look, it's a loose diet.
The fire with your butthole.
Like the Diablo hot sauce makes sense.
All right. Well, I still think we've got a banging idea with this video games Hot Ones thing.
Yeah.
And
coming for you, Sean.
And yeah, Sean, you're welcome, man. Please make it happen.
No. Well, with that, let's move on. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Actual video games. Physical, real video games.
No way.
Ralph, you wrote down on the list Dragon's Dogma. I know you chatted about it a little bit last week.
Yeah.
But are you like at a different... Did you not beat it last time and now you did? Okay.
I hadn't beat it before. Yeah. So, I mean, look, my review's up on the channel, so I won't talk too much about it because I already spent like 40 minutes talking about it in the video. But
I didn't watch it, so tell me right now.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So Dragon's Dogma is such a weird game. There's nothing that really prepares you. Nothing in the discourse, I think, accurately prepares you for what it's like to actually play it. And I really think the initial batch of reviews and discourse was very off base because all I really read was like effusive praise in the reviews, like this is incredible and blah blah blah. And like there was some stuff about performance and there was stuff about like monetization, which they're fair call outs, absolutely. But I really think they missed a lot of the problems with this video game, which is like it's very unfinished in many aspects. Like it's a truly notably unfinished game. There are parts of it which are very underbaked, like the itemization system. You can basically just kind of do away with it altogether. like all of the crafting stuff is basically useless. The enemy variety is extremely limited. The difficulty model completely breaks down at the back end because the game does not scale and it doesn't give you new enemies to contend with. There's NPC behavior is totally broken in the cities where like you're not meant to be able to stealth through certain sections. Like you have to stealth through certain sections because if you get spotted, you get in trouble. But you can just walk past the guards and they don't give a fuck, and then it's just like it's fine. That just doesn't work. You know, you can just rob NPCs blind, like you can steal from their stores, whatever, which is not really broken in the sense that the game is obviously designed that way for you to just be able to pilfer their coin sack from behind the cash register kind of thing. But it feels goofy when you do that. There's just a lot of aspects of this game that are not finished and that are weird, and that's like, well, hang on, what's going on here? And there's theories that Dragon's Dogma was actually pushed out before it was ready to hit like a quarterly earnings target for Capcom. There's nothing confirmed about that. The developers have said nothing, but it's a running theory. I think it might be true, except for the fact that, and I didn't play Dragon's Dogma 1.
Oh, okay.
But many people said had the same criticisms about Dragon's Dogma 1, with the game feeling fundamentally unfinished in many aspects. So this is kind of just consistent with that. You know what I mean? It's so you can't immediately assume that Capcom pushed it out when it was ready when you've got that other game which is so similar to it in its shortcomings. But the weird thing is, and I did that review and everyone's like, dude, how are you recommending this? It's just a laundry list of things that suck. And I'm like, well, that's just how it works with video games sometimes. Like sometimes you can look at a game that has a list of problems, but you come away from it being like, I still enjoyed that game despite all of those issues. And yeah, this is absolutely one of those times where the feeling of like setting out on the road, you know, I don't know what the Bilbo poem is that he says in Thingo, but that one, you know, the one.
No.
Here we go.
Well, I mean, which one? There's like the road.
It's the one about, you know, it's a thing about going out your door.
Oh, if you don't going out your door, Frodo, and if you don't keep your feet, who knows where you're going to get swept off to.
That's exactly
I think
what
I
it's like.
biffed it, but yeah.
Sure. But that's exactly what it's like in Dragon's Dogma. Like, you really do step out your door and you think you know where you're going, but you'll probably spot something along the way that distracts you and that sends you somewhere else. And it's probably a cave, right? Let's be real. It's mostly a cave.
Some treasure.
But it's still...
A ladder.
It's still, yeah, with a little bit of... You're right, with a ladder and whatever. But it's still enough just to create this feeling of this journey, you know, of being like this thing that very few games can actually accomplish. This feeling of journeying through a space. It sounds really simple. It sounds like every game should be able to do this. But the majority of open world games cannot do this, you know? I mean, even stuff like Horizon Forbidden West and Zero Dawn or whatever, these got these massive expansive open worlds full of things to do, but journeying through the space does not actually feel like a journey. It's, you know, it's just moving from place to place. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a very, as I said, it's a fascinating game. I do recommend it. I genuinely do, but you really need to go in eyes open to all of its many shortcomings. So do you guys actually... So, Lucy, you played a bit of this, right?
Yeah.
Do you plan to play more?
I mean, kind of like not really based on what you just said there, but I think that's just because
That's what everyone said in the review as well. They're like, wow, you really convinced me to not play this game despite the title, you know?
No, because I'm just in a place right now where I'm languishing a little bit with things that are a little too open. I need more direction. You know, this is a complaint I have with things like Zelda and, you know, kind of these bigger open world games. And also I just want to play stuff I want to play bangers right now. You know, I feel like that's where I'm at the moment. A
lot of Dragon's Dogma fans in the comments right now being like, well, this is a banger, Lucy. You're missing out.
I think just because everything has been so busy,
sure.
I need something short. I think just because I've done so many big games back to back this year already, I really want something that's just short, and that's, you know, kind of like what I've been playing. So maybe over the summer when things are a little bit quieter, you know, Hellblade 2 is about to come out. I really want to replay Hellblade, and I want to do Botany Manor, and I want to do I do want to do Persona 3, but I'm going to wait for a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like maybe I'll wait for a little bit for things to be a little more ironed out. I'm not sure.
I moved it up my backlog at the very least. Okay. I was going to do Final Fantasy Rebirth, but now I think I kind of want to do Dragon's Dogma first.
Do you know what? I really feel as though you should do Dragon's Dogma because I think it's fundamentally more interesting to talk about and explore as an idea than Final Fantasy. Because I think Final Fantasy is extraordinary because it's so massive and polished and there's so many things to it, right? It's almost like there's definitely some things to talk about, but really what is overawing about that game is its scale and its polish and just how many crazy ideas they cram into it, right? But exploration of its ideas is less interesting. One, because you would have seen a lot of its systems already in Remake. And two, because it's not really doing much that's new, really. I mean, it's just kind of like a really cool story and a really cool world and all that sort of stuff. But Dragon's Dogma is weird, man. It's a weird game. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that, like a video on your channel, exploring that in more detail because it's such a unique... Did you play one? Did you play one?
I played some of one and watching the lead up to two, I was kind of just very interested because I was like, oh, this looks like more of that, like straight up, like they just did it again. So that, and then hearing you talk about it, this is going to sound like this is going to sound silly, but like I live for the butt meaning with you being like, this sucks. This is weird. Why does it do that?
I was like, oh, okay.
And then that's when I'm like, oh yeah, all right. I like those types of games, you know?
Yeah, I think, no, that's it. Exactly right. And I said in my review that it's a more interesting game to talk about than it is to play because there's a template there for a fucking incredible like masterpiece game. If you really built this out and did all the thing, if you fully realized its potential, it is an all-timer. It absolutely is. And even Dragon's Dogma fans will agree with you on that. Like even people who love this video game will be like, oh yeah, I love it, but there's so much wrong with it and it's got so much potential that's left on the table. And if they added this, and this, it'd be the greatest thing ever. And yeah, they're right. And I reckon I actually really like the Dragon's Dogma community, by the way, because very often you meet gaming communities that are quite, I don't know, like insecure or sensitive about their games and they won't hear criticism of them. They're like, no, it's actually really good. You don't understand. Even if you have positive things to say about it, if you also have criticisms, they're like, no, those criticisms are invalid. But the Dragon's Dogma 2 community, they're like, yeah, this game is kind of a piece of shit, isn't it? You know, right? But they're like, but we fucking love it. And I love gaming communities that are like that. You know, it's like the Destiny community. They're like, we fucking hate this video game, but we love it, you know? And I think that's a really great community to interface with because you can actually have really interesting conversations about the game then rather than everyone losing their minds because you know, I don't know, didn't like X, Y, Z character or whatever else. So yeah, man, it's a cool game for many reasons. Community, the nature of it, its unrealized potential, its weird development story, you know, how it came to be and whatever. It's cool. It's cool. And I really hope Capcom do a 3 and actually commit to like, you know, fixing all of its issues and actually realizing that potential. They've got something big here, man. They really do. But I wonder what kind of resources they'd be willing to commit to a third. Because the rumor is that they committed significantly less resources to this project than other major Capcom projects. I don't know. I wonder. It does seem like a long odds bet. Dragon's Dogma still feels like not a very sure thing. So I don't know if that'll ever happen, but we'll see.
I didn't expect them to make this, especially this new Capcom. This new Capcom that's like firing on all cylinders and just like Resident Evil Monster Hunter, we're crushing it. And then to be like, and then also this weirdo one, you know, but it's cool to see. I'm glad. I'm still glad it got a sequel.
Yeah. Anyway,
well,
cool. That's Dragon's Dogma, man. That's it. And other than that, I just keep playing Balatro. I'm just still going with that. I'm very determined to like just unlock all the decks, unlock all the things. It's incredible. Like it's just it's perfect. What a game, man. It's definitely game. It's on my game of the year list already. There's no way it's not going to be on there. It's just
just hearing how everybody else talks about it. It's like sitting on my Steam Deck like the Green Goblin mask. It's just like, it's just waiting play for me. You can do it. And I'm like, no, I can't. Don't let it take me.
To be fair though, I really truly do believe that this would be a better game on mobile.
Well, lucky for you.
I know they're doing the port. If they do a straight port of it without any monetization bullshit or whatever, it's just a straight port that you paid like $8 for or something, it would be the perfect phone game.
That sounds dangerous.
So it is like, absolutely, for sure, for sure.
Lucy, I want to hear about Children of the Sun. This is the game where you control the sniper bullet. I think you talked about the demo, but now you're playing the full game?
Playing the full game now. Way more things added in terms of like levels. It's not just the straight demo that I originally played. There are some levels that have been added in. I'm just really enjoying it. So yeah, you play as... God, I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. So you play as, I guess you escaped from a cult. You have a sniper rifle and you have one bullet. And in between each level, there is just kind of these little vignettes of all the messed up things that the cult has done, which I love the art style on those. I also love the sound work on it because it's like Hypnotoad-ish. It's like this really distorted, fuzzy, horrible sounding thing. So you have your bullet, and it's basically, it's a puzzle game. You try and you have to hit every single cult member in the level with this one bullet, and every time you make contact with someone, or whether it's a bird or something else like that, you can then change the trajectory. And also in the air, you can kind of slightly curve it around. You can do wanted a little bit if you want to. Cool. And sometimes in some levels, you definitely need to do that. And the crucial thing with me, it's hitting the Hitman thing where I feel incredible. I feel empowered as a player because I've solved the puzzle. I feel empowered because each level will have a certain like sub-objective, and those sub-objectives sometimes are delivered to you because the name of the level is a pun. And so when you get those, you get a higher score. And then there's the Hitman thing. There's leaderboards. And so it's just this real nice, empowering puzzle game that's got this messed up setting and framing that I really love. So it's a very Lucy-ass game. And I'm really having a nice time.
Nice time with this murder simulator.
Messed up game.
You said Hitman thing. That's all I needed to hear. I was like, shit.
It's tickling the same brain dopamine thing. I was about to say sertraline, and I was like, no, that's the thing that I take. But it's tickling the same brain receptors, and so I'm really enjoying it. Playing it on Steam Deck too, it's a great Steam Deck game.
Oh, so, okay.
Definitely recommend because I've been traveling a bunch. But Jake, you and I'm playing this one on Steam Deck. I'm not sure if you are. I'm also not sure how much we can talk about it because there was a preview embargo and the review embargo is later because it's coming out, I think, on the next week. But we've been playing Tales of Kenzera, and so I want to hear about that from you.
Yeah, so I'm playing on PS5. I am pretty early, so I'm just going to stick to like the early impressions and preview stuff. But so far, it seems like a solid, simple Metroidvania. I expect it to be blown out more as you go, but I like how different it is from a storytelling standpoint, from the lore that they built, the world they've built, the kind of real world myths it is based on, but it's interesting to play a Metroidvania that as you're traversing, your character is having like thoughtful conversation. That just seems really well written and well voice acted. And I'm just curious to see how they keep going with that and how they deliver on that. And can that be consistent? Because that does seem really cool. And it does seem to kind of deliver on, what, the team has been talking about leading up to this. And it's just fun. It's simple. Like I said, simple because I haven't unlocked everything, but I am a sucker for like a good skill tree, a skill tree that feels meaningful, or like everything you unlock is actually worthwhile. And just looking at the skill tree, I can like see that. And I'm like, all right, cool. It's pretty slow to dole out points at first, so I haven't unlocked too much. But just getting into the flow of the game, like you start to get into that like comfort flow with a Metroidvania, that flow state. I'm just starting to hit that. And I think the fact that at least the game has that and I've hit that is good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that excites me, because I before, we're also playing this in a post Prince of Persia world. And so it's not, at least where I'm at in the game, it's not like done something completely revolutionary like the way that Prince of Persia had, for example, even just the way that the map stuff works and like taking pictures and stuff where you guys stuck. And so I also wasn't really a big Metroidvania kind of fan, and so I'm actually really enjoying the kind of level where it's hitting in terms of how my exploration is panning out. Like, I don't feel stuck at any stage. I like the combat because it feels, you know, I tried to play like Symphony of the Night, and because I didn't have that background in it, I found it really difficult. And it's like I feel like this game is very approachable for me. The thing that I'm most excited about with it, and wow, God, sorry, my voice is just gone completely. Oh God, I'm doing like the breathing. I was around my nieces and they had the little kid coughs all weekend, so this nice. Do be hitting. I'm really intrigued because it's a story about grief, and as someone who has experienced a lot of grief in their life, especially early on, never a parent, but in my family there was, we had like a real Edith Finch going on for a while, where just like people just die. Well, not in mysterious circumstances, but there's just a lot of it in a very short period of time for me, and so I'm very intrigued. And we're going to be talking to Abu. I'm excited. Not excited, it's maybe not the right word, but like I'm intrigued to talk about it with him because you are taking something that is so, in a lot of societies, grief is kind of like, well, you got to get on with it, you got to move on. And I really like that he's taken this very strong and personal moment and like turned it into a game and then kind of put it out there for everyone. So I'm really interested to see kind of how the story kind of goes along. But to Jake's point, yeah, just having a character talk. And me, because I hate an over-talker. You know this. I hate Aloy because she's just chatting. She's chatting away.
She is. Yes, I agree with you.
But like actually having one where like I'm interested to hear what Zhao is saying because I want to know more about him and his world. And the things that he is saying are not like, my satchel's full, but my pack's full, but put this in my satchel, Yeah. So again, it's still kind of early days. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Did you notice that, like, one thing I found pretty particular was how often some chunks of the map are really, really vast, where even if it's just a simple platforming segment, oh, now I'm losing my voice. even when sometimes it's just a simple, like, you jump across a pit, but sometimes the game will just zoom out and it's like really big and it's just got like a big skybox and like you're a little dot jumping on a platform. It was cool to see. I like that.
But also, I also love the fact, like, it's finishes in 9 hours. Like, oh, I love that. And it's like 15
yes.
and it's like, oh yeah, give me some of that. Don't know why I said that.
Game.
Yeah,
just a game for busy humans. We do love that, don't we, folks?
Totally. Yeah, no, I remember I played the demo during the Steam Next Fest and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Yeah, definitely. I think it is very much Prince of Persia was in my head as I was playing it because it gets so much right. And this is naturally going to invite comparisons because they're both 2D Metroidvanias that sort of feel quite similar in their control schemes and their overall like presentation has some similarities as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's tough, but at the same time, just because a game is similar doesn't mean that it's not worth playing. You know what I mean?
No, and also maybe just because Prince of Persia came out, like more people are interested in the genre and they're like looking for more.
Yeah,
for sure.
With storytelling as a forefront, which is cool.
Because I didn't finish Prince of Persia, but I hear the story was kind of a bit poopy.
It was like a couple of little things were cool, but it didn't go as far as it could have.
Yeah.
Poopy. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Poopy. There you go.
Good reviewer terms here.
That's right. We are professionals, so that's it.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep playing through it, so I might check back in or make a video. But let's move on to the show and tell segment where everybody brings a little something that isn't a video game. I don't have anything other than Fallout. That was like the main event that I talked up. Lucy, you saw Monkey Man.
I did. Dev Patel's movie.
Yeah.
Cool. Tell me about that one.
Really cool. I really enjoyed it. Do want to apologize to my friend because we got letterboxed. He gave it 1 star because he said there was too much shaky cam. And I said,
I heard that.
And I messaged him and I said, is everything all right at home? And then I said he would say this movie kicked ass. Anyway, I mean, it's like, to use a reductive example, but it's definitely one that is, it's funny because this movie is referenced in Monkey Man. it's like a John Wick kind of, in terms of just like this really cool action. I think it has some of my favorite it has definitely one of my favorite action sequences of all time. Wow. And that's huge praise, but
that's cool.
Dev Patel plays this character, and there's this framing around a character from a story that his mother told him when he was a child, and so you see that at the beginning, and that kind of like mirrors his arc. And then he has been faced with adversity. I'm trying to keep things really spoiler free because I didn't watch a trailer and I had no idea what this movie was. I thought it was a horror film going in. I also was like a poster.
From the poster, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, and it's not. It's like this action. So I'm trying to keep it kind of spoiler free for people, because I thought that was a really great way to experience it. He's faced a hardship and loss, and he wants revenge. And so he moonlights as this kind of cage fighter. His character is the Monkey Man. And during the day, he's working, he's scheming to get close to these powerful people who wronged him as a child. And so there's this great mix of like, in Ocean's 11, how they have the plan and everything, kind of like, this is how we're going to get here. This is how we're going to get here. It's not as slick like that by any means, but it's just a really cool kind of thing where you can see that he's devious and he's thought it through. But also because he knows that this is going to end in violence. There's like this scene where at the very beginning of the movie, like he's really not very powerful at all. And then he is just pushing himself to get better because, revenge is all he can see. Revenge is all he wants. He knows how difficult it's going to be. And the action sequences, it's very shaky. But I love a fight scene where I physically recoil because the sound work is so good, because the effects are so good, because those punches that they are throwing look realistic. And I felt that there's this one particular scene in a bathroom, and when you watch the movie, you will know that scene. And I was just like, ooh, yeah. And it was hitting. It's great. And I think Dev Patel, wow, like, obviously all these stories about the fact that like they were pulling funding and he had to film it on iPhones and GoPros, and then Jordan Peele comes in and helps get it out there. And I think that's a really cool story. And I'm glad that like that helped get this notoriety so that more people can see it, because this does not deserve to be relegated to new on Netflix. This is something that I saw in a theater. Shout out to the Everyman Theatre in Liverpool Street in London. Best cinema I have ever been in. Oh my God. You sit on couches. Everything's super comfortable, really beautiful, really clean. You take drinks in and some food. Anyway, I saw this on the big screen and I loved it. And it was just like, cinema's back, baby. Between this and June. Wow. So I loved it. And I think Dev Patel was great in it. And it's so funny as a British kid, I'm in my 30s, as a British kid, seeing Dev Patel in Skins when he was like the nerdy kid, and then seeing him go and do things like Slumdog Millionaire, and then how his journey has gone.
That's the Green Knight right there. Yeah,
doing the Green Knight and like writing, directing. Like, this is your directorial debut is frankly insane.
That's cool.
And so there's a lot more in that movie that I would love to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So just please go check it out.
You sold me, for sure. Now with the show and tell notes, Ralph, you didn't write down what you're going to talk about, but I think I know what you put.
What do you think it is? Tell me.
I think it's X-Men.
No, because we think
that's a whole separate podcast.
That's a whole separate podcast. But oh my God,
Holy
X-Men
shit.
97, episode 5. Fuck me.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Unbelievable.
What the hell is going on over there? Like, what happened to create this? This is incredible stuff. Like, it's unbelievable. And I really wonder, like, how much of it is the nostalgia stuff, right? Because it's like, there's the, the original voice of Rogue is in there, and you're like, you're seeing, like, you have all these feelings about Gambit that you don't really have across most of the other, like, certainly in the movies. The movies have only ever like had Gambit once. Wasn't it Channing Tatum? Was he? He was like, was that him?
It was
who was it?
It was that other guy, Taylor Kish, who played him in the Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, in the Wolverine Origins, right? Whatever. So I was like, you never really had. So like, I don't know, because things happen in this. And I wonder how much of it is the nostalgia stuff. Sure, absolutely. But there are moments in this show where I'm just like, that is just objectively brilliantly written.
Yeah.
And objectively like brilliantly framed. Like everything about it is like separate from the nostalgia. If I'd never seen this before, it was an entirely new take on this characters, whatever. I'm like, this is excellent stuff.
I was speaking to a friend about it, and they had said, so this isn't my original thought, but it's essentially like it is a nostalgia play to a point, but it's also like they're like, okay, 90s kids, like we're all adults now. And we want to keep going with the story, but we are all adults. So let's see what we can do with that.
And it's so fascinating to watch because I think stuff for adults, like some of the scenes in this show do so much work within the space of like 90 seconds. The number of like things that it exposes, emotions that it deals with, backstories and new story beats, because it has to move at the pace of a Saturday morning cartoon, right? That's what they are. It's a 30-minute thing and it's just boom, 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 boom. As we watch things as adults, that's not how things for adults are written. Things for adults take a long time. And that's fine, by the way. Like that's what we expect because it reflects real life. But this is essentially the kind of like the pace of a 30-second of a Saturday morning cartoon combined with the thematics and of something for adults. And I've never quite experienced this. I mean, look, I don't watch a lot of anime. I've watched anime over the years. Don't get me wrong. I'm like not completely. I don't know if that medium does this sort of stuff more regularly, but certainly like animation that I have consumed over my life has not done it quite the same as this in this way. I've never watched something that felt like a straight up Saturday morning cartoon that was clearly made for adults
with like artistry to it, real artistry.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't like, you don't feel like, oh, they reuse that scene or like they're holding that scene to kill time. Yes. It is like from the visuals to the sound design to the framing of everything. It is the art, like straight up.
But I would say though that with that, because there's A and B plot in this, right?
Yes.
There's your A plot stuff that's like absolutely banging, and then there's your B plot stuff which kicks in. You're like, yeah, I don't know about this one. And there's like the Jubilee episode, like, yeah, come on.
I found that very fun, and I usually when those types of episodes hit, I go, this is fucking bullshit. But I think it was fun enough that I was just like, all right, that was a cool little spin.
You're right. Man. It was playful or whatever, but I also think in a similar way that this is clearly a Saturday morning cartoon made for adults. And I almost feel like, well, I don't know that there should be those filler episodes or those B plot stuff, because it's like, well, that's not what we're really that interested in. But you're right. The flip side to that is that that is a really interesting, playful episode that has entire sequences that are made to look like a video game, and a really good looking, well-made, proper video game, you know? And so you're right. There's that experimentation. There's some creativity that bubbles through. There's something different to break it up. But at the same time, I was also like, listen, this is fine, but I really want to get back to the Magneto shit, okay? Because that is way more interesting than whatever you got going on here. So that's the kind of like the flip side to the
I really think we could do a whole podcast episode or some sort of video on this at some point.
I really want to watch it. I'm waiting for it though to
good,
all
you
drop.
should.
You should just do it bit by bit each week. I swear to God.
It's been nice.
This is one of the talking points around Amazon, what do you call it, Fallout show.
Oh yeah.
Where everyone's like, oh, it sucks that it drops all in 1 week. People are like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, I think it does suck. I think it sucks that it drops all in 1 week, because it just drops. And some people have watched, like this conversation that we'd have today, for example. Jake's watched the whole thing, and so he's at a totally different place of being able to talk about Fallout than we are, because I've watched one episode, you know. And I don't know, like it's just.
I miss water cooler moments. I'm having it with Shogun.
Yeah, exactly.
Now.
Say again?
I'm having that with Shogun. Like Shogun, I'm enjoying doing week to week. But then I don't think Shogun seems like a bingeable show. It's just like it's like slower and it's a lot. But whereas, you know, I feel like, I don't know. I could just like X-Men to me is like. Reminds me of something that I had on a tape as a kid, and I would just watch like 3 episodes in one go and be like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever!" So maybe I'll do it. Maybe I've got a big flight on Sunday. I'll download it. I'll do it for you.
Honestly,
Ralph.
do it. You will absolutely lose your shit on that latest episode. It's incredible. Okay. So anyway, I wasn't even planning on making that my thing, but we're running out of time now. But I was just going to say, I find the whole MKBHD humane AI thing fascinating.
Yeah.
Because if anyone hasn't caught up on this, basically humane AI released this like pin that's like an AI assistant, whatever, total garbage, $700, $20 a month subscription. It's like a worse version of anything that your phone can do.
Email is not available. Reminders are not available.
That's right.
Timer is not available.
It's a complete evisceration without being toxic. It's very much just like, this is a bad product. And he calls it like the worst product he's reviewed so far. Like, yeah. And so, but people in the tech world are like upset about that because they're like, oh, it's so terrible that he would use his platform to destroy this startup. And the humane are like, whatever happened to being optimistic about the future of thing? Well, it's like, well, you don't really get to say that when you're charging $700 for a product that is shit and $20 a month. Like, fuck off. So I just think it's a really fascinating... I really looked at that whole situation thinking, man, imagine if tech reviewers had to endure what we regularly have to endure as video game reviewers when it comes to how broken something is. Like they get this product that doesn't work and they're like, this is what it's like this massive thing. It's like, we get products that don't work all the fucking time. That's standard for us. We literally celebrate when a game comes out and it works as intended. That is how different our worlds are when it comes to this stuff. And I just thought that was a very interesting parallel between those two things. So, as we were recording, actually, I guess just released a new video called "Do Bad Reviews Kill Companies?"
Oh wow!
And I haven't watched it yet. I'm like dying to finish this so I can watch that. I'm like, do they? Like the answer, of course, is no. But there's a lot of accusations that he's like killed this $200 million startup with one video. And it's like, bro, if your product can't withstand one video from one tech reviewer, then your product was never going to survive as it is, man.
I mean, that's the thing though, because I didn't even see the Marcus Brownlee video.
The Verge one was brutal.
It was the Verge one that I saw.
Sure.
And I was like, Jesus Christ. So yeah. I'm gonna dig into that after this.
It would have gone viral either way. If a product isn't good, it's not good, and people.
There's like
find out.
There's going to be phones that are not as good as other phones, and there's going to be a laptop that has an overheating issue, and there's going to be all that sort of stuff. But you're talking about something that fundamentally, at its most basic level, does not do any of the things that are promised in the way that it's promised and the way that it's been advertised. And it's like, it has all these kind of fake trailers that are very selective with what it puts in versus what it doesn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's crazy.
Well, with that, let's wrap this up. This was a great show. This is a great way to bring me back, guys. Thank you. It was good to talk to you guys.
I missed you.
This is a podcast that's here every other week. I want to do the hot ones thing. This camera, let the people know what you got going on in your life. That's what he says at the end. So plug your shit.
What am I doing? You can go back and watch the BAFTA Game Awards stream if you'd like. And then I'm just doing a bunch of stuff at Gamespot that's not going to come out for a couple of weeks. You can listen to Jeff's Bizarre Adventure, our JoJo's Bizarre Adventure podcast. We did a couple of episodes about Red Hot Chili Pepper. There's a stand called Red Hot Chili Pepper. Otherwise, honestly, I'm just gonna be traveling back to the UK and hopefully laying low for at least a week. That'd be nice. That'd be really good.
Good for you.
Ready to sleep. Yeah. Thank you.
Ralph, what about you?
Right now we're allowed to say that we're reviewing Stellar Blade.
Cool. We are.
So yeah, playing that right now. Are you on that as well, Lucy? Have you got that?
I got code, yeah.
Cool,
I shall be.
So reviewing that, and review is going to go up on embargo next week. And that's really it for me. I'm just sort of like focused on that and going to get that out. And No Rest for the Wicked is the other one that I'm.
Yes, that's coming out this week.
Excited. I'm so excited.
Tomorrow,
18th. Yeah.
If you're listening, yeah.
So that looks very cool. So definitely plan to get on top of that as well. And yeah, that's all there is really. It's a nice quiet period. Nothing too nuts going on right now. Nice easy stretch leading into Summer Games Fest in June.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kicking back a little bit and enjoying life for a change, as opposed to just
good for you
working all the time.
Me too.
It's a good change of pace.
Yeah.
I'm just kicking back, making videos about the Fallout show, Metal Gear Solid Cologne. For some reason,
I saw that. I haven't watched it yet. I'm so excited to watch
it's
that.
Dumb. It's so bad. I just made it because I wanted to make it.
It's incredible. I'm pumped.
Thank you. That's really it though. So with that, thank you for listening, watching. You know, clicking the like button or rating on podcast stuff does help us. The email is what is the email? contact@friendspersecond.com. I forgot it once again, but if you want to send us questions, please do. But we'll see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. Tie your shoes and go to bed.